Chapter 39-25. In a cave, the stench of blood filled the air. There were several corpses on the ground, and blood flowed, dyeing the ground red. Shoa leaned against a wall in the cave. Her face was as pale as paper, and there was a wound on her shoulder that penetrated her body. Blood continuously flowed out, and her hand that was covering the wound had long been dyed red. Her sole weapon had fallen to the side, broken in two, and had lost all of its spiritual power. Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng stood side by side. Their auras were not good, and they each held a soul weapon in their hands. Their gazes were fixed in front of them, full of vigilance. 30 feet in front of them, a black-robed man was half kneeling on the ground. There were several wounds on his body, the most serious of which was on his abdomen, which was completely penetrated. He was heavily injured, and his aura was very weak. Even so, the two girls did not dare to be careless. The strength that the other party had displayed was too terrifying. Yugui stood on Shan Ya's shoulder. Previously, it did not enter that area with Zi Chen. Now, its gaze was very vigilant, and its originally lively eyes were now filled with fatigue. Behind the black-robed man, Fang Wudao and Fang Wuling were leaning against each other. The two of them had suffered different degrees of injuries, and the magic spiritual robe that they were proud of was now broken. It was something that Zi Chen had not been able to break before. Unexpectedly, it was completely broken now, and there were no more spiritual fluctuations. 10 feet away from Fang Wuling was Fang Wulian. His magic spiritual robe was also broken, and Shan Kuei lay at his feet. His life was hanging by a thread. An intense battle had temporarily come to an end. Both sides had paid a great price. Relatively speaking, Fang Wulian's side did not lose a single person, and was considered to be in a better situation. Moreover, the one who benefited was Fang Wulian. In the end, he was the one who obtained the ancestral blood. No matter how well prepared you are, what's mine is mine, it will always be mine. No matter what schemes you have, you will never be able to take it away. At this moment, Fang Wulian's body was emitting rays of green light. These green lights gradually surged with a terrifying aura. It was the drop of green ancestral blood from before that was gradually showing its effect. Fang Wuling looked at this scene, and his eyes were filled with hatred. "You bastard, what right do you have to be recognized by the ancestral blood?" "Why? Of course, it's because of my bloodline talent." Fang Wulian laughed viciously as he walked towards Fang Wuling. "I was originally the one closest to the ancestral bloodline. It's all because of you bitches. You killed my mother and took away my bloodline. I thought you were just jealous and destroyed my bloodline. I didn't expect you to be so insidious and secretly extract my bloodline and refine it." Fang Wulian walked closer and kicked Fang Wuling far away. "You damned bitch, isn't the reason why your talent is so high because you refined my innate bloodline?" Fang Wuling crashed into the wall and coughed up blood. "Who do you think you are? You dare to taint my Fang clan's fortune?" Fang Wulian glanced at the heavily injured black-robed man, his eyes filled with murderous intent. He waved his hand, and a ray of green light flew out from his fingertip. With a puff, this injured and weak soul-devouring clansmember was beheaded. There was no bamboo forest here, so he didn't have invincible battle prowess. "Are you crazy? How dare you kill him? Do you know who he is?" Fang Wudao frowned and said discontentedly. "What right do you have to lecture me?" Fang Wudao's body was sent flying, and also crashed into the stone wall. "Do you think you're still the strongest person in the Fang clan? In my eyes, you're not even worth shit. Now, give me back the power that belongs to me." Fang Wulian reached out his hand, and as if his body had teleported, he appeared between the two. His hand hovered above their heads, and rays of green light bloomed. Fang Wudao and Fang Wuling's bodies began to tremble, as if they were enduring great pain. Their facial features were twitching, and their bodies were spasming. Rays of green light thinner than a strand of hair appeared from their bodies, and gathered in the air above them, gradually growing larger. The green light was blood, or rather, blood vessels, which belonged to Fang Wulian. The blood vessels gathered in the center of the palm, and each formed a drop, about the size of a fingernail. Then, the two drops of blood merged into one, and became an even bigger drop. Countless rays of green light bloomed, and the drop of blood was activated. Looking at the blossoming blood, Fang Wulian's face was filled with excitement, but more of it was sadness. His eyes were filled with tears, and they flowed down uncontrollably. "Mother, do you see this? My power is back." His body began to tremble, and he was extremely emotional. After his mother's death, he had not shed a single tear. He had always pretended to be a fool in the clan, and played the role of a spoiled brat outside. He abandoned his cultivation, and gave up everything, just to live. Now, everything was back. His talent was back, and he had the right to cry, but his mother could not come back. Fang Wudao and Fang Wuling looked at Fang Wulian in shock. The power of the blood vessels that had stayed in their bodies for many years had helped them grow rapidly, but it had never been this powerful. They had never expected it to awaken in Fang Wulian's hands. The power of the blood vessels merged into Fang Wulian's forehead, and a powerful aura surged out, and countless rays of green light lit up the surroundings. At this moment, Fang Wulian felt complete. His soul was complete, and his flesh and blood vessels were complete. His physique began to change, and his power also became purer under the stimulation of the blood vessels. Compared to the powerful Fang Wulian, the current Fang Wuling and Fang Wudao were incomparably weak. After Fang Wulian took away his own power, it was as if he had taken away their power as well. The strange phenomenon did not dissipate for a long time, and the green light in the cave continued to fade. Everyone's feelings were extremely complicated. Xiao, whose wounds were no longer bleeding, smiled. It seemed that the heavens were still fair, and would not let a person suffer all the time. They would always give him something in return. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya were still expressionless. The strange phenomenon disappeared, and Fang Wulian lowered his head to look at the two people on the ground, and said, "Actually, I really wanted to show you how great my future achievements are. But I'm sorry, the two of you can't live, because too many people have died. If the Fang clan does not lose a few important people, we will not be able to suppress the anger of those forces. You want to kill us, but we are your family," Fang Wuling said, and there was fear in his eyes. "Family?" Fang Wulian laughed sarcastically. "Have you forgotten? Every time I say the word sister, you will speak ill of me. In your eyes, how am I family? I'm obviously worse than a dog." As his words fell, Fang Wulian made his move. There was a hole in the middle of Fang Wuling's forehead, and a ray of soul light flew out of Fang Wudao's body, and flew out of the cave. Fang Wulian, I will. Chapter 39-26. Looking at the figure in front of him, Fang Wudao, who was left with only his soul, immediately changed his expression. His body paused slightly, and his face was filled with disbelief. In their plan, the soul refining land would only open after the Bamboo King died. Now that this area had opened, could it be that the Bamboo King was not dead? And there could only be one person who could kill the Bamboo King. Why was Zichen standing here? What about the invincible Soul Devourer clan? Fang Wudao had all kinds of doubts in his heart. He dared to abandon his body and escape because he wanted to find the invincible Soul Devourer clan. As long as he was here, Fang Wulian and everyone here would die. However, Zichen blocked the door, and his plan fell through. A beam of green light came from behind and pierced through his soul. Before he died, he let out an unwilling scream. The green light around Fang Wulian retracted. He looked at Zichen at the door and asked, "How long have you been here?" "Not long," said Zichen. Fang Wulian sighed. "I've made a fool of myself in front of you." Zichen smiled and did not say anything. In fact, if it were him, he might not have done as well as Fang Wulian. If he did not vent his years of suppression, there would be problems. He might even go to the other extreme. Seeing Zichen, Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya breathed a sigh of relief. Yu Gui jumped onto Zichen's shoulder. At this time, the few of them did not see the abnormality of Zichen's spirit robe because it could change. Zichen looked at Xiao. She was not in a good condition and was healing herself. He looked at Shan Kuei. His breathing was weak, but as long as he had a breath, he would not die. Fang Wulian stepped forward and searched the bodies of the two dead people. He found some pills and gave one to Shan Kuei. Lan Jiu Meng went to check on Xiao's injuries, while Zichen asked Shan Ye what had happened. Shan Ye told him what had happened in a low voice. It turned out that the group of people had come to this place at the same time while they were searching for opportunities. Seeing that the strongest person, Zichen, was not here, Fang Wudao and the others no longer had any scruples and a great battle broke out. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ye fought against the soul-devouring clan and Fang Wudao, while Shan Kuei fought against Fang Wuling with his armor. Shijiao and Fang Wulian fought the others. This battle was very intense and even bitter. It was to the extent that Xiao Er's natal soul weapon was broken and she herself was heavily injured. As for Fang Wulian, he was even more miserable. If it wasn't for Xiao Er blocking the sword for him at the critical moment, and if he hadn't obtained the approval of the ancestral blood, then even if he had won this battle, it would have been a Pyrrhic victory. Of course, in this battle, Yu Gui also contributed greatly. Without Zichen's presence, it was already very good that they could do this. After learning what had happened, Zichen looked at Shijiao again with a strange gaze. One had to know that before coming here, Shijiao hated Fang Wulian the most. The two of them would quarrel whenever they met, but now she was willing to block a sword for him. This time, of the thousands of human soul realm cultivators who entered this place, only a few of them survived. It could be said that the loss was great. After waiting for a few hours, Shijiao and Shan Kuei woke up one after another. Shijiao Er's condition was more or less recovered, and her previous wound had also healed. Recovered? Zichen looked at Shijiao and asked. Yes. Shijiao nodded, but her expression was a little unnatural. Be careful next time. It's too risky, Zichen said. In fact, he was a little afraid. If something really happened to Shijiao here, how would he explain it to the Sai clan when he returned? Shijiao said unhappily, don't think too much. I pity him and don't want him to fail in front of hope. Zichen said with a smile, don't worry, I won't think too much. Shijiao glared fiercely at Zichen, but in the next moment, she was sad because her natal soul weapon was broken just like that. She went to pick up the soul weapon. She didn't know if there was an expert who could repair it when she returned. Fang Wulian looked at Shijiao Er's sad appearance and said, don't be sad. When we return, I will definitely give you a better one. Who cares? Shijiao carefully put away the soul weapon. This soul weapon had accompanied her for a long time, and she had long developed feelings for it. How could she give it up so easily? Unfortunately, Fang Wulian didn't understand this principle. There's still something waiting for us. Let's go directly, Fang Wulian said. After obtaining the drop of ancestral blood, the memories in the ancestral blood allowed him to understand more about this place. Hearing Fang Wulian's words, Zichen's heart skipped a beat. Could the other party be talking about the spirit robe on his body? Shan Kuei's movement was no longer hindered, and everyone followed Fang Wulian forward. During this time, Zichen's heartbeat was clearly accelerating as he thought about how to explain this matter to Fang Wulian. Lan Jiumeng noticed Zichen's abnormality and her expression changed. At this moment, a voice sounded in Zichen's sea of consciousness. Don't worry, he's not talking about this spirit robe. It's something else. I'm the only one who knows the secret of the spirit robe. Hearing the little elf's voice, Zichen was relieved. Sure enough, Fang Wulian changed his path midway, causing Zichen to heave a long sigh of relief. Lan Jiumeng glanced at Zichen and asked, what's wrong? Nothing, I just haven't fully recovered yet. Zichen said. Lan Jiumeng asked, what did you encounter inside? Fang Wulian, who was in front, also turned around to look at Zichen. Clearly, he was also very curious. I saw the Bamboo King here and met an invincible human soul realm expert. Zichen told them about the situation he encountered after entering the area, but he did not tell them everything. He hid some things, such as the existence of the little elf and the spirit robe. He mainly talked about the difficult battle. In that battle, Zichen used all his means, but he was still unable to suppress his opponent. The final victory was still due to luck. In the end, Zichen only said that he was lucky, but the others could hear the danger in that battle. Only then did everyone know that the most dangerous enemy had been dealt with by Zichen. Under Fang Wulian's lead, they arrived outside a secret chamber. However, To open this place, bloodline power was required. Fang Wulian stepped forward to open the door. The door of the secret chamber rumbled. After the secret chamber opened, a blazing aura greeted them. The secret chamber was a place for artifact refinement. It was connected to another underground fire vein, but according to the little elf, this fire vein was not just a little bit inferior to the one refined underground. In addition to the artifact refinement cauldron, there were several completed works placed around. There were magic robes and battle armors. There were several of them. These were the works of the ancestors, and the quality was much better than the magic robes produced by the Fang family. Fang Wulian did not look at the magic robes or battle armors. Instead, he walked to the other side. He knocked on the stone wall with his hand, and according to a strange pattern, the stone wall shrank and a secret compartment appeared. In the secret compartment, there was an ancient jade scroll. Chapter 39-27. Fang Wulian only took away the refining technique and gave the armor to Shan Kuei. As for the magic spirit robe, everyone got one. Zi Chen also got a set of armor, but he didn't refine it immediately. This trip had come to an end. Originally, it wasn't so simple. Even if you have the power of bloodline, you still need to walk a long way and go through many tests. Obviously, these steps were skipped by the little elf. Or rather, it was completely disappointed in this world and the people of the Fang clan, so it skipped those tests and gave Fang Wulian an opportunity. The passage to leave was in the land of soul refinement. But before that, Zi Chen suggested that everyone recover to their peak state and refine the magic spirit robe first. After all, it was uncertain what dangers there would be outside. Fang Wulian didn't have any objections, even if he wanted to go back and tell his clan about his results. Zi Chen and the others had contributed greatly to being able to come here and recover their bloodline. Moreover, he was also worried that trouble would come to Zi Chen once they left this place. 2 days later, everyone had recovered to their peak state and it was time to leave. The teleportation passage was in the land of soul refinement, and only this place had it. If they couldn't reach this place, then no one could leave. With the little elf by his side, Zi Chen knew where the teleportation formation was. But now that Fang Wulian was leading the way, he naturally couldn't steal the limelight. After finding the teleportation formation, the group stepped into it and left. Before leaving, Zi Chen took another look at the land of soul refinement. The danger here had been resolved, and the biggest opportunity had been obtained by him and Fang Wulian. It was indeed time to leave. After stepping into the teleportation formation, Zi Chen disappeared with a flash of light. Asterisk 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 in the square outside the Fang clan, a portion of the spectators had left, but there were still many people waiting outside. Almost all of these people came from large forces and were waiting for their family members to return. This wait lasted for several months. During this period, the Fang clan also had people waiting with them. This was called acting to the end. The real exit was inside the Fang clan, and almost no outsiders knew about it. At this moment, there were many people guarding the exit to prevent accidents from happening. These people were all wearing protective armor and were the true elites of the Fang clan. They stood there like iron towers, not moving at all, not even blinking their eyes. Not far away, in a pavilion sat a middle-aged man. He was the person in charge of this place, as well as the guide. He was guiding Fang Wudao and Fang Wuling, and at the same time, preventing any accidents from happening. As the true core of the Fang clan, he knew some secrets. For example, those people outside were destined to return empty-handed. Moreover, the number of people who could return alive this time should not exceed 5. There wouldn't be any accidents, because everything had been precisely calculated. When the teleportation array lit up, the expressions of the armored guards changed. With a flash of light, Fang Wulian was the first to appear. They naturally knew who this second young master was. No matter what his real status was, they still had to show him the necessary courtesy. The few of them saluted in unison and called out second young master. Under the pavilion, the person from the Fang clan immediately stood up and looked ahead in disbelief. This was completely different from what he had expected. Fang Wulian nodded at them and said, "You've worked hard. Second young master, why are you here?" That Fang family person spoke, appearing extremely shocked. Fang Wulian smiled. Third uncle, why can't it be me? Where are Wu Dao and Wu Ling? Why don't I see them here? The middle-aged man called third uncle by Fang Wulian used a questioning tone. A hint of sadness appeared on Fang Wulian's face. In terms of acting, he was naturally good at it. He said regretfully and sorrowfully, the two of them unfortunately died in battle. Unfortunately, my strength was too low and I couldn't save them. What did you say? The two of them died? The middle-aged man exclaimed. Although it's a pity, this is the truth. Fang Wulian said sorrowfully, if possible, I would rather die in their place. How did the two of them die? The other party still couldn't believe this was the truth. In the original plan, Wu Dao and Wu Ling definitely took up 2 of the less than 5 spots. When we were fighting for the last opportunity, we were ambushed by 2 black-robed men who suddenly appeared. Recalling some scenes in his mind, Fang Wulian's eyes clearly showed a hint of lingering fear. The 2 of them were very strong. After ambushing Big Brother and Little Sister, they killed 12 guardians. They didn't care about the morals of the Jianghu at all and didn't give Big Brother and Little Sister a chance to speak before they killed the 2 of them. What about the 2 black-robed men? The other party's expression changed, and his eyes also changed. If he guessed correctly, the 2 of them should have returned alive. Why did the 4 of them fight? Speaking of this, I have to thank Zi Chen and his friends. At the crucial moment, they appeared and worked together to kill the 2 black-robed men. Fang Wulian said with some lingering fear, if Zi Chen didn't appear in time, I would also have been killed by those 2 guys of unknown origins. At this moment, the middle-aged man just noticed that there were a few more people behind Fang Wulian. They were the people he went in with before, and now so many of them had returned. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Why didn't you die? A dignified voice suddenly sounded, and a person descended from the sky. Looking at the person who came, Fang Wulian said with a pained heart, I also wanted to die, but I disappointed father. He despised me for being weak and didn't kill me at the first moment. When he wanted to kill me, Zi Chen came to save me. After Zi Chen heard this conversation, his expression couldn't help but change. This dignified middle-aged man was actually Fang Wulian's father. And their relationship as father and son was as unharmonious as their relationship as brothers before. It seemed that it wasn't easy for Fang Wulian to live until now. It was Fang Wulian's father, who was also the head of the Fang clan. He snorted coldly, bastard, do you think I'll believe the nonsense you made up? Fang Wulian said calmly, I know that Big Brother and Little Sister died, and father is very sad. I'm the same, and I even want to die in their place. Unfortunately, time can't be turned back, and I can't use my life to exchange for their lives. As for what I said, it's all true. Shan Kuei can testify for me, and so can Zi Chen. Fang Wulian raised his hand to the sky and said solemnly, I, Fang Wulian, swear that if there's even half a lie, I'll be struck by lightning. Shijiao was stupefied when she heard this vicious oath. This was too vicious. He was speaking such righteous words and making such a solemn vow. These years, Fang Wulian's life had been very difficult, so he didn't believe in the heavens anymore. This vicious oath was no different from fart in his eyes. He said with a smile, Father, you should believe me now, right? The head of the Fang clan frowned. He found it hard to tell if it was true or false. Fang Wulian's third uncle snorted coldly, You bastard, what kind of attitude is this? Your big brother and little sister are dead, and you're still smiling? Fang Wulian said helplessly, I cried, and I cried for a long time. At that time, my eyes were swollen, and I almost fainted. Unfortunately, you didn't see it. What? Do you want me to repeat the scene in front of you again? Impudent, is this how you speak to your elders? Fang Wulian's third uncle said indifferently, You trash, what right do you have to speak so confidently in front of us? Why are the 2 most talented people of the Fang clan dead? Why aren't you the one who died? The smile on Fang Wulian's face froze bit by bit, and his expression gradually became gloomy. He was no longer the Fang Wulian of the past. He looked at his third uncle and said, Because my life is good, because my luck is good, and because of the protection of my ancestors, I'm not destined to die. Who do you think you are, To dare to point fingers in front of me? Who gave you the right? The head of the Fang clan frowned again, and there was a hint of anger in his eyes. Little bastard, you're courting death. Fang Wulian's third uncle was completely enraged. He directly charged forward, and the aura of the human soul completely erupted. Flaunting your seniority, I think you're the one courting death. Fang Wulian took a step forward. He was no longer prepared to endure, and his tyrannical aura completely erupted. With a loud bang, the middle-aged man came quickly, and left even faster. Even though he was wearing a magic spiritual robe, he was still shaken to the point of coughing up blood. After landing on the ground, the middle-aged man's face was filled with shock. He was actually injured by the publicly acknowledged trash of the Fang clan, and it only took one move. While he was shocked, he also felt incomparably humiliated. He angrily shouted, "What are you all standing there for? Hurry up and kill him." The armored guards guarding the area like iron towers moved as soon as they heard the sound. At this moment, they no longer had the second young master in their eyes, only orders. Before they decided to attack, they did not hesitate at all, and showed enough loyalty. During this period, Fang Wulian's father looked on coldly and did not say a word. Chapter 39-28. Zichen had never seen a father treat his child like this. He was about to be killed, but he was still indifferent. But soon, he felt relieved. If Fang Wudao and the others' plan could be carried out smoothly, then Fang Wulian would be the one who should die. When he was young, Fang Wulian's mother was killed and his bloodline was stolen. As a father, it was impossible for him not to know, but he had always been indifferent. Perhaps this was his tacit approval. Several war-armored guards stepped forward, each of them using a powerful force to activate the might of their armor. Sensing the powerful aura surging in the surroundings, Zichen did not move. Lan Jiumeng and the others also did not move. This was because Fang Wulian needed a powerful battle to announce his return and rise. If kinship was useless, then he would follow the rules of this world. The strong were respected. Countless rays of azure light surged out from Fang Wulian's body as the power of his bloodline was activated. Light flashed under his feet, leaving behind after images. A moment later, there was a series of bangs as the nearby wardens were sent flying. If it was a coincidence that he sent third uncle flying, then defeating several war-armored guards in an instant was an amazing achievement. Fang Wulian's powerful battle strength was displayed in front of the Fang clan. Such a huge commotion had alarmed quite a number of people. After they appeared, they saw the fallen battle-armored guards and the proudly standing Fang Wulian. Every single one of their expressions changed as they were filled with shock. Who else is unconvinced? Come out. Fang Wulian looked around and said proudly, "Human soul realm. If there's one, I'll fight one. If there's two, I'll fight two. If there's a group, I'll wipe them all out. If I use spirit robes and soul weapons, I'll be bullying you. I'll fight with my bare hands. You can do whatever you want." At this moment, Fang Wulian was bold enough to challenge an entire clan's human soul realm by himself. This was what he wanted the most. For so many years, he had dreamed of this countless times. Today, it had finally come true. At this moment, he was extremely arrogant and domineering. There was no need for him to put on an act. This was an eruption that had been suppressed for too long. In the eyes of others, it was incomparably annoying. This was actually a strategy. If Fang Wulian wanted to establish his dominance, he needed an overwhelming victory. Thus, he needed to infuriate everyone. For him, acting should be the easiest. After so many years of acting as a spoiled brat, he was just reliving it today. However, it was not for outsiders, but for his family members. What? None of you dare to accept the challenge? It seems that I was right to look down on you all this time. You all are a disgrace to the Fang clan. At the very least, this young master has a good reputation, but you all have nothing. If it wasn't for the clan nurturing you all, if it wasn't for the protection of the clan, you would have been beaten to death long ago. Fang Wulian's gaze swept across the human soul realm experts. You think you're worthy of the surname Fang? Pooh. Everyone was enraged, because this was clearly talking about Fang Wulian himself. If he didn't rely on his family, he would really have been beaten to death. You're courting death. A young man was enraged. He immediately descended from the sky and went straight for Fang Wulian. Today, I'll show you what true power is. Fang Wuchuan, ranked 10th in the clan. How dare a trash like you challenge this young master? Fang Wulian smiled disdainfully and took another step forward. The ground suddenly shook as he struck out with his palm. Green light filled his palm and a powerful aura burst out. When the two palms met, countless rays of green light burst out. Amidst the powerful explosion, the 10th person of the Fang clan was sent flying. He landed on the ground and coughed up blood. His face instantly turned pale as he was defeated in one move. I've said it before. Trash like you is not worthy of fighting me one-on-one. Who else? Get your ass over here and get beaten up. Fang Wulian provoked again. His expression was arrogant, but at the same time, he was asking for a beating. Go to hell. Two more people flew out. They were both human soul realm experts. Looking at the two approaching, Fang Wulian said disdainfully, so it's the 8th and 9th person. You two are smart to know to attack together. However, there are too few of you. It's not enough for this young master. As soon as he finished speaking, Fang Wulian attacked again. With two loud bangs, the two were sent flying. They were still defeated in one move, even if they joined forces. Anyone else? Fang Wulian shouted loudly with a cold gaze. The surrounding people all had ugly expressions on their faces, but their eyes were filled with shock. When had Fang Wulian become so strong? You bunch of trash, do you know who this young master is? This young master has the purest bloodline in the Fang clan. My birth caused a phenomenon of heaven and earth. Fang Wulian looked at everyone arrogantly. In my eyes, you guys are nothing. This was Fang Wulian's moment to perform. He was as arrogant and domineering as he had been suppressing himself all these years. Zi Chen and the rest were just supporting characters today. This was Fang Wulian's home ground. Today, it was his turn to shock everyone. At this moment, no one dared to challenge him anymore. Human Soul Realm experts did not dare to, and Earth Soul Realm experts were naturally unwilling to fight. At this moment, the Fang clan's patriarch, who had been silent, looked at Fang Wulian and said, "Your bloodline has awakened." Fang Wulian turned to look at his father and said, "The word awakened is wrong. It should be recovered. I originally had a bloodline, but don't you know how it disappeared? Bastard, is this the attitude you should have when talking to your father?" Third uncle said angrily. Fang Wulian glanced at the middle-aged man and said with a smile, "If you continue to talk nonsense, do you believe that I won't kill you in the next moment?" Good, good. As expected of my son. Now that your bloodline has awakened, you are the number one person in the Fang clan, which means that you are the number one human soul realm expert in the world. They are indeed no match for you. It's useless to challenge you. The Fang clan's patriarch laughed loudly. He was very carefree. Even Zi Chen was caught off guard by such a rapid change in attitude. This was too realistic. Fang Wulian glanced at the Fang clan's patriarch and sneered, "From now on, I am the current patriarch of the Fang clan." "What did you say?" The Fang clan's patriarch's eyes instantly turned cold. He just had the thought of acknowledging this son, but the other party actually wanted to take over his position. Fang Wulian said, "You are all too old and don't have the heart to compete. I don't feel at ease leaving the clan in your hands. Bastard, who do you think you are? You don't have to worry about the Fang clan's matters." The patriarch was clearly angry. "It's not up to you to decide whether I need to worry or not." Fang Wulian sneered and then looked in another direction. "Patriarch, do you think I'm worthy of being the patriarch?" An old man appeared out of thin air. He stood in the air and looked at Fang Wulian. "Your bloodline has awakened." Chapter 39-29. Fang Wulian's words were calm, but they were like thunder that exploded in the surroundings. Being recognized by the ancestral blood was already very impressive. They knew very well how powerful the ancestral blood was. The deeds of the Fang family's ancestor were still being passed down from generation to generation. Once the power of the bloodline was activated, it would be truly invincible. No wonder Fang Wulian's battle strength was so tyrannical that he could defeat all those of the same level. The second piece of news was the Fang family's soul refining technique. The Fang family relied on the bamboo sea world to rise to fame by refining spiritual robes. However, all the direct descendants of the Fang family knew that the Fang family's refining technique was incomplete, or rather, it was missing the most core part. That was the soul refining technique. For many years, they entered the bamboo sea world again and again, but they never succeeded. However, Fang Wulian succeeded. This represented an infinitely glorious future. Fang Wulian looked at his ancestor, and there was no one else in his eyes because he knew very well who had the final say at this important moment. You've awakened the bloodline and brought back the soul refining technique. According to what I said before, you're qualified to be the successor. The ancestor said, from today onwards, you're the successor of the Fang family, and the future patriarch of the Fang family. Everyone was in an uproar when they heard that. Was he completely giving up on Fang Wudao? Could it be that he really died and could not return? Many people looked at Fang Wulian, and their expressions became complicated. This kind of change was really fast. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Fang Wulian spoke again. No, the future patriarch is too far away. I want to be the current patriarch. The current patriarch has long lost his drive. It's impossible to bring the Fang family to another height. Fang Wulian pointed at himself and said loudly, only I can bring the Fang family to another height. This might seem like conceit, but wasn't it also self-confidence? After all, he had awakened the bloodline and also had the soul refining technique. Bastard, how dare you? The Fang family's patriarch shouted angrily at Fang Wulian, are you rebelling? Fang Wulian ignored him and only stared at his ancestor. Only the other party had the final say here. Moreover, he believed that the ancestor knew what was going on since he was able to awaken the bloodline. Fang Wudao, who they had the greatest hope for, would not return. The patriarch looked at Fang Wulian. Are you joking with me? Fang Wulian smiled. What do you think? The others also stared at their own patriarch, wanting to see what exactly the patriarch meant. Unexpectedly, the ancestor didn't even hesitate and directly nodded, very well, from now on, you are the current master of the Fang clan. Fang Wulian laughed heartily when he heard that. He then swept his gaze across the crowd. Wherever his gaze passed, everyone lowered their heads, not daring to meet his gaze. The arrogant third uncle from before was even more so. As for his father, who had lost his position as the head of the family, it was as if he had lost his soul at this moment. More than half of his essence, qi, and spirit had collapsed. Once they lost their power. You don't have anything to say. Fang Wulian was clearly not satisfied with everyone's performance. He narrowed his eyes. Greetings, patriarch. Everyone bowed in unison, their voices loud and clear. At least you guys are tactful. Fang Wulian nodded with satisfaction. He then waved his sleeve and said, get out of the way. Don't block the way of my benefactors. After saying that, Fang Wulian turned around and looked at Zichen. Zichen obviously knew what he meant. He nodded at Fang Wulian and didn't say anything else. Zichen indicated that it was time for everyone to leave. Although Fang Wulian had become the master of the Fang clan, this wasn't a safe place. There might even be a large-scale internal conflict in the Fang clan soon. The others had already moved out of the way. Who allowed you to leave? Unexpectedly, at this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. It was Fang Wulian's third uncle who blocked Zichen's path. How dare you block my friend's path? Are you courting death? Fang Wulian said coldly, his eyes were filled with killing intent. If they want to leave, we won't stop them. However, they took something from the Fang clan, so they must stay before they leave. The middle-aged man said calmly. For some reason, he wasn't afraid of Fang Wulian anymore. He stared at Zichen and said, leave everything behind and leave. Otherwise, you will die here. Fang Wulian said angrily, how dare you? I'm the master and he's my friend. I gave them the things. Let them leave. The middle-aged man suddenly smiled faintly and said, I'm sorry, but the master is not the only one who has the final say in this matter. Fang Wulian's face turned cold, I'm the master. Don't I have the authority? He looked up at the ancestor, only to see the ancestor's figure flash and disappear. Obviously, he didn't intend to interfere in this matter. The master is naturally powerful, but don't forget that there are still elders in our clan. If the master doesn't care about the clan's interests, then the elders have the authority to interfere. As the middle-aged man finished speaking, one elder after another appeared. These were all elders who held real power in the Fang clan. They were one generation older than Fang Wulian's father. One of the elders said, "Master, they took our Fang clan's opportunity. This is against the rules. If you don't care, then I'll discipline them on your behalf." Fang Wulian's eyes flashed with killing intent. "Old thing, you dare to stop me? Every clan has its own rules. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're the master." Beside him, another elder said, "Us old fellows have the right to vote for the position of patriarch. So what if the ancestor makes you the master? If all of us elders don't agree, then you don't have the right to be the master." Fang Wulian's father, who had lost most of his spirit, seemed to have reignited hope. Fang Wulian wanted to say something, but was stopped by Zichen. Every clan had its own rules. Fang Wulian could do whatever he wanted because of his value, but if he went too far, he would be punished. Zichen took a step forward and said, "You keep saying that I took your things. What did I take?" The middle-aged man from before sneered, "You took our magic spirit robe, so you have to hand it over. Also, you have to put down the resources you obtained from the Bamboo Sea world." Zichen said, "Before you went in, you said clearly that life and death were up to fate, and the opportunity was up to you. So many people went in, but only a few of us came out alive. Then why should we keep the opportunity that we exchanged for with our lives?" Fang Wulian's third uncle said, "Young man, you look very smart, but I didn't expect you to be a fool. I originally wanted to leave some face for you because you were the master's friend, but since you don't know what's good for you, then I'll be frank. Because we have more people and are stronger," Zichen said, "if that's the case, then we'll let go of what belongs to us. After we get out, we'll definitely spread your deeds and let the other families see your Fang clan's character. We'll also let them see your sinister intentions." A trace of killing intent appeared in the middle-aged man's eyes. "Since you've said that, then there's no need for me to let you leave alive." Zichen laughed. "Why didn't you say that earlier? Why did you beat around the bush?" With that, Zichen's figure disappeared. Chapter 39:30. Zichen had made his move in the Fang family. Unlike Fang Wulian, his move was a killing move that killed in one blow. Looking at his dead third uncle, Fang Wulian smiled without any sadness. "He should have died long ago. You're courting death." An angry roar rang out. The Warframe guards who had defeated Fang Wulian immediately charged at Zichen. Facing these guards, a light flashed in Zichen's hand and a black staff appeared. He attacked in all directions. Bang! 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 After several strikes, the Warframe guards were sent flying one by one. "You dare to behave atrociously in the Fang family? You're courting death." In the sky, an elder's eyes surged with killing intent. "Kill him. Let's see who dares." Fang Wulian shouted at the right time. Of course, no one paid attention to his words. The few famous existences in the Fang family charged at Zichen without hesitation. At this moment, they only had the elder's orders in their eyes. At the same time, this was also a show of strength to Fang Wulian. They were using facts to tell him that even the patriarch could not do whatever he wanted. Looking at these people, Zichen smiled coldly. The staff in his hand began to tremble. The patterns on it lit up one after another, and a purple light began to flash. He attacked with his full strength without holding back at all. There was a loud boom. A direct descendant of the Fang family was sent flying. The magic spirit robe on his body released a strong light, but under Zichen's staff, this extremely defensive magic robe was shattered. Zichen did not care about the flying opponent, but the underworld ghost that had been sleeping on his shoulder woke up. It instantly exerted strength and flew towards the opponent. Its small claws suddenly flashed with a cold light and swept across the opponent's neck. The human soul who had lost his magic spirit robe clutched his neck and retreated. Blood continuously flowed through the gaps between his fingers. At this moment, Zichen's staff landed a second time. A purple light flashed and a tyrannical aura swept out. The second human soul lost his magic spirit robe and was sent flying. With the previous example, a soul weapon appeared in front of him, guarding against the underworld ghost. However, it was not effective. The underworld ghost gently waved its claws and the soul weapon was sent flying. Then, a dim light flashed. The second person in the top 10 had died. When Fang Wulian saw this, he sneered. What **t? The top 10 of the Fang family is the top 10 of the world. This time, when he entered the Bamboo Sea world, he encountered a black-robed man who was even stronger than Fang Wudao. His opponent was also at the human soul realm, but his combat strength was superior to Fang Wudao's. Other than that, both Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Ya were top-notch experts. He had awakened the Fang family's bloodline and was publicly acknowledged as the strongest person in the human soul realm. However, Fang Wulian knew very well that he had no chance of winning against Zi Chen. Even if he was up against Shan Ya or Lan Jiyu Meng, he might not be able to win. These people had become stupid after staying in the Fang clan for so long. They didn't know that there was always someone stronger than them. As expected, the third human soul was also killed by Zi Chen. They had not gone to the Bamboo Sea world because their families wanted to preserve some of their strength. Now, they had been killed by Zi Chen. He did not feel regretful. Instead, he felt very happy. Now that he was the head of the family, there were too many people who were dissatisfied with him. He needed to slowly resolve this matter. However, if those who disobeyed him were all killed by Zi Chen today, that would be the best outcome. If he wanted to completely control the Fang family needed a great purge. There was no need for those who deserved to die to live. The few armored guards charged forward again, looking like fearless warriors. Fang Wulian frowned slightly. They were too arrogant. As expected, in the next instant, they were once again sent flying by Zi Chen. This time, all of their armors were shattered. Furthermore, they fell to the ground with serious injuries. The commotion here was huge, and many Soul Realm experts from the Fang family came from all directions. The elders in the sky ordered indifferently, "Kill, kill without mercy." These elders did not attack, but ordered others to die. There were the consecrators of the Fang family and the experts nurtured by the Fang family. When Zi Chen heard the elders' words, he also began to kill without mercy. One after another, the human soul realm experts stepped forward and died. The guards who had lost their armor rushed forward once more. This was the third time. Fang Wulian shook his head. It was rare for Zi Chen to be so kind, but they did not know how to cherish it. Therefore, this time, those who charged forward did not manage to retreat alive. Everyone died. However, there was clearly no end to this killing. This was because those who deserved to die did not die, while those who did not deserve to die kept sending themselves to their deaths. Zi Chen raised his head and glanced at the sky. Then, his figure disappeared. Several attacks exploded where Zi Chen had disappeared. Zi Chen's figure flashed into the air. Before those elders could react, he made a strong move. A purple light flashed through the air and drew an arc in the air. Those elders who had arrived were all enveloped by the arc. Unfortunately, 2 of them were not wearing magic spirit robes and died instantly. The others were sent flying and coughed out blood. Their originally cold expressions were now filled with fear. "Kill him. Someone, kill him." As they spoke, the surviving elders kept retreating. Clearly, they were worried that Zi Chen would attack again. Many of the Fang clan's experts surrounded Zi Chen from all directions. Behind them, Lan Jiyu Meng, Shan Ya, and Xiao who had not made a move until now, instantly attacked. Just as the 3 of them attacked, a massacre began. Shan Kuei came to Fang Wulian's side and whispered a few words in his ear. Fang Wulian then retreated. Shan Kuei looked at Zi Chen worriedly. Even if he wanted to, he absolutely could not help. Although he knew that Zi Chen was very strong, he could not fight against an entire family. Especially the Fang family, because there were not only human soul realm experts here, but also earth soul realm experts. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, the aura of an earth soul realm expert appeared, causing Shan Kuei's expression to change instantly. Die. This earth soul realm cultivator was clearly not here to reason. The moment he appeared, He attacked Zi-Chen with a killing blow. Light blossomed in Zi-Chen's hand, and a light shield appeared. Just as the light shield blocked the Earth Soul Realm expert's attack, 9 holy talismans flew out from Zi-Chen's side. They were the Ghost Spirit Holy Talismans. They were instantly activated and flew towards the Earth Soul Realm expert. Following that, Zi-Chen smashed down with his staff. Purple light soared into the sky, and a powerful force pierced forward. The Earth Soul Realm expert's body grew several feet taller. The ghost spirit had already entered his sea of consciousness, but if it wanted to kill an Earth Soul Realm expert, it was still lacking. Zi-Chen was also aware of this, so he immediately put away his staff and changed to a brush. Heaven and Earth Brush. A ray of light soared into the sky, carrying a power that could cut through space, and instantly pierced through the Earth Soul Realm expert's body. In Lan Jiu Meng's arms, the blue dragon beast that had just peeked out shrank back after seeing this scene. Chapter 39-31. From the moment the Earth Soul Realm expert appeared and attacked to Zi-Chen's counterattack, only an instant seemed to have passed. In that instant, they saw a powerful Earth Soul Realm expert being split apart by Zi-Chen, a human Soul Realm expert. If it wasn't for the fact that his soul was strong enough, the other party might have already died. The surrounding people seemed to have been petrified. Even the elders who had retreated were scared silly and no longer dared to give orders. The entire battlefield fell silent for a moment. A mocking smile appeared on Fang Wulian's face. The strongest human soul realm expert in the world. Now you should see what the strongest is, right? Beside him, Shan Kuei was also shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes. A dignified Earth Soul Realm expert had his body cut off just like that. The Earth Soul Realm expert's soul flew out of his sea of consciousness, but at this moment, he didn't even dare to say a word and directly ran away. Because his soul was still under attack, and it wasn't feeling good. If he said a few more words, he might be killed. This scene shocked everyone, so much so that when Zi-Chen swept his gaze around, everyone subconsciously retreated. Zi-Chen said, "Now, can we leave?" "Leave? Do you think that's possible? Or are you sure that my Fang clan only has one Earth Soul Realm expert?" With a flash of light, a middle-aged man in a black robe appeared out of thin air. He stared at Zi-Chen and said indifferently, "Your methods are useless against me." Zi-Chen smiled and said, "I know. It's already very difficult to deal with an Earth Soul Realm expert. I thought that you would want to save some face and give up, but I didn't expect another one to come. You're about to die, yet you still have so much nonsense to say." The Earth Soul Realm expert said coldly, "It seems that you don't want to die a quick death. Don't worry, I know dozens of torture methods. You're not qualified to kill me." Zi-Chen's gaze turned sharp as a jade pendant appeared in his hand. The jade pendant emitted a blue light. The moment Zi-Chen took out the jade pendant, a strange wave of energy spread out in all directions. Before coming here, Old Tang had specifically said that as long as Zi-Chen walked out of the Bamboo Sea world, no one would be able to harm him. Now, it was time for Old Tang to fulfill his promise. Just as the fluctuation appeared on the jade pendant, an Earth Soul Realm aura flew over from afar. It was Old Tang's aura. No one dared to block their path. The Fang family's Earth Soul frowned. He looked at Zi-Chen and said sarcastically, "I didn't expect you to have reinforcements. However, there's only one. Aren't you looking down on my Fang family?" Old Tang flew over from afar without any obstruction and landed beside Zi-Chen. He raised his head and looked at the Earth Soul Realm expert from the Fang clan. "If you don't mind, I'll call a few more over." Trying to scare me. The other party stared at Old Tang and said, "What do you think my Fang clan is? Let me tell you, since you've come here today, don't even think about leaving. My Tang family can kill a mere Earth Soul Realm expert. Activate the family's array." Large families would pay a huge price to build a family-protecting array. Not only could it protect the family, but it was also the family's foundation. Right now, this Earth Soul Realm expert was using the family's foundation. Not only could he kill Old Tang and Zi-Chen, but he could also intimidate the world. Even if there was really an Earth Soul Realm expert outside, they would still kill Old Tang who dared to barge into the Fang family. The order was quickly passed down. Rays of light lit up around the Fang family and formed a large array. Old Tang raised his head and looked at the array. His expression didn't change. He wasn't nervous or worried. Zichen also wasn't worried when he saw how calm Old Tang was. He was very assured when Old Tang was in charge. Shan Kuei and Fang Wulian lost their confidence at this moment and started to worry for Zichen. Xiao took a few steps forward and arrived in front of Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya. The two of them used their eyes to signal Xiao not to worry. At this moment, in the square outside the Fang family, many people were waiting. When they saw the Fang family's array suddenly activated, they all had strange expressions on their faces. For a moment, there were all kinds of discussions. Suddenly, a person appeared out of thin air. It was a burly man. He stood outside the Fang family's protective light barrier. After he sized up the barrier, he nodded his head. No one knew who he was, but many people heard him muttering. "Not bad. You specially used a large array to welcome me. My trip here wasn't in vain." After he finished speaking, a saber appeared in his hand. The saber was golden, as if it was made of gold. The moment it appeared, the bright light was so dazzling that many people nearby couldn't open their eyes. Just when most people closed their eyes, a tyrannical aura appeared in the square. It was as if a peerless monster had awakened. Everyone felt as if their souls were about to collapse. Dozens of huge cracks appeared in the square. Smoke and dust rose into the air. The smoke and dust covered the sky. No one could see what was happening in front of them. Everyone only heard 3 deafening claps of thunder between heaven and earth. When the smoke and dust dispersed, everyone in the square was shocked to find that the Fang family's array that had just been activated had shattered. At the same time, there was a saber mark that extended from the square to the inside of the Fang family. It extended for several miles. Everyone was incomparably shocked. That burly man with a saber just split the Fang family's array in 3 slashes. Actually, this was just the surface. A few miles away from the crack, which was in front of Zichen, the Earth Soul Realm expert who was standing in the air with a proud expression was now split into 2. His corpse fell to the ground with blood gushing out. A burly man with a saber walked over. The long saber in his hand was propped on the ground. Wherever he passed, countless golden lights bloomed on the tip of the saber. The entire Fang family was dead silent. It was as if they had fallen into a dead silence. Seeing that burly man, Old Tang smiled. There was a hint of surprise on his face. He didn't expect it to be him. The burly man with a saber walked over step by step. No one dared to stop him. What kind of joke was this? In just 3 slashes, the clan's array was broken and an Earth Soul Realm expert was killed. Who would dare to stop such a powerful person? The burly man arrived at the battlefield. He glanced at the corpses on the ground and then looked around. He said, "Is there no one in your Fang family who can fight? You're a huge family after all." The surroundings were as silent as cicadas in winter. No one dared to say anything, even if the burly man was deliberately mocking them. The elders from before had long hidden in a corner. They were so scared that they didn't say a word. No one. The burly man frowned slightly. "Is there anyone in charge? If there's no one, I don't mind tearing down this place or destroying it." "Who are you?" An old voice sounded. The ancestor who had appointed Fang Wulian as the patriarch appeared again. Chapter 39-32. The ancestor of the Fang clan looked at the burly man below. The man's golden saber was still leaning on the ground. His expression was very relaxed without any pretense. "Don't look at me like that. I'm already very scared of going in alone." The man shrunk his shoulders. However, this scared action was too childish. In the eyes of Fang Wulian, who was good at acting, this was not even a beginner. "May I ask where you are from?" The distracting thoughts in the ancestor's mind disappeared and his tone became much more polite. "If I don't tell you, will you beat me up?" The man didn't answer but asked instead. Zichen silently watched this scene, but he began to mutter in his mind. "You came with such fanfare and provoked them. Who would dare to act recklessly? If you used dozens or hundreds of sabers to break the formation and used 70 or 80 sabers to kill that Earth Soul Realm cultivator, would they not beat you up? It would be impossible if they didn't beat you to death. The ancestor bitterly smiled and said, "You must be joking. This should be a misunderstanding. It's fine as long as it's resolved." The man shook his head with a face full of regret. "It's too boring. It's really boring. Do you know how excited I was when I received the news that your Fang family might harm our young master? Fang clan? What a huge clan. They claim to be able to contend against a sacred mountain. They have a lot of resources. It's my great honor to be able to come to this place and experience it." The man named WN he shook his head and said, "It's just that you've disappointed me too much. I'm only a small saber user from the sacred mountain. I rashly barged into your clan, but you're not me." The few short sentences were filled with mockery and ridicule, causing some people to be confused. Fortunately, many people understood the other party's background. He was called WN he from the sacred mountain and was a saber user. But wasn't this saber user a bit too strong? WAN he, golden saber. The ancestor's gaze suddenly changed and he opened his eyes wide. "Your golden saber WN he, that golden saber WN he from back then?" Here, the ancestor suddenly closed his mouth as if it was a taboo. At this moment, the unwillingness in his heart had completely vanished. Golden saber WN he had been famous for a long time. His name was indeed a taboo to many forces. However, he had been silent for many years, so why did he suddenly appear again? Who would have thought that I would be so famous that even an old antique like you would know of me? WAN he chuckled and said, "I'm really flattered." Zi Chen, on the other hand, was a little puzzled. Was this man with the golden knife very famous? He had never heard of it before. However, he immediately understood. Such an expert must have made a name for himself in the past. "Sir, you must be joking." The ancestor of the Fang clan cupped his fists and quickly said, "I didn't expect for the flood to hit the Dragon King temple and cause our own people to fight. This is a misunderstanding, a huge misunderstanding." His attitude changed again, and he lowered himself even more. WAN he looked back at Zi Chen and asked, "Young master, is this a misunderstanding?" Zi Chen didn't know why the other party called him young master, but given the current situation, he had to respond. He said, "I don't think so. Those elders seemed to be very powerful earlier. They said that the Fang family was powerful, but their background was even more powerful. It would be very easy for them to kill us." Zi Chen looked at the elders. "Bastards." The ancestor angrily shouted, "Why don't you open your dog eyes and look? You dare to offend our esteemed guests. You can't do anything right, so what's the use of you?" The ancestor only waved his sleeve. A wave of power surged out and directly engulfed the elders wearing the magic robes. In the blink of an eye, the magic spirit robes exploded, and the elders died. WAN he looked at the other party's move and said with a smile, as expected of an old antique, "So powerful. I wonder who is stronger between you and my golden knife." The ancestor's expression slightly changed. He purposely showed this move, but it seemed that it didn't deter the other party. WAN he looked at the ancestor and said with a smile, "I've just entered the top 10 and haven't found a real opponent yet. How about we spar?" The ancestor's expression changed again. This time, it was a lot uglier. Then, he noticed the mocking smile on WN his face. He knew that his action was unnecessary and that he shouldn't have shown off. If Golden Knife really entered the top 10, then WN his goal this time should be the north. If the Fang family didn't provoke him, he wouldn't have come here. This made him feel very regretful. He shouldn't have taught Fang Wulian a lesson earlier. He should have let him know that even if he became the Fang family's master, he couldn't do as he pleased. If he said this earlier, how could those elders dare to do as they pleased? It was true that a family had rules, but in the end, it all depended on whose fist was harder. This is a misunderstanding. Everything can be discussed. At this moment, the ancestor didn't have any other thoughts. He only wanted to send these demons away as soon as possible. He looked at Zi Chen and said, "Little friend, they offended you. As an elder of the Fang family, I also have a great responsibility. I don't know if you were hurt, but our Fang family is sincerely willing to compensate you." Taking the initiative to ask for compensation, How could Zi Chen dare to accept it? He looked at Wn He. Even if there was compensation, it should be him. Who knew that Wn He actually smiled and said, they were the ones who didn't open their eyes and were in the wrong first. Young master, please speak, there's no need to worry about us. Zi Chen was relieved. He then looked at Lan Jiu Meng and the others. They all shook their heads. Zi Chen said, it's not a big deal, I think it's better to forget about it. I don't lack anything. That won't do, absolutely won't do. Little friend, please speak and let others remember. The ancestor hurriedly said. In fact, he was really scared. If he didn't want any compensation, was he going to stay in the Fang family and not leave? Zi Chen said awkwardly, I really don't want it. Even if I take the compensation, I'm afraid I won't be alive to spend it. There are so many people outside eyeing me covetously. He smiled. His smile was somewhat meaningful. This pun was really interesting. Young master, please excuse us. We sincerely want to compensate young master. We hope that young master can give our Fang family a chance. The ancestor said again. However, he was cursing this kid in his heart. How dare he threaten him with the people outside? Zi Chen was still in a difficult position. At this moment, Fang Wulian stepped forward and said, Zi Chen, it's hard to refuse such kindness. If you don't want the compensation, I won't be able to convince the people in the future, right? Zi Chen said, if that's the case, then fine. Actually, I don't lack anything now, but I lack blue astral coins. You should know that blue astral coins are very important in the underworld. It was blue astral coins and not blue crystal coins. This was interesting. He didn't lack anything but money. This conversation was really interesting. Chapter 39-33. With the arrival of Golden Saber Manha, Zi Chen's crisis was resolved. Not only did he kill someone, he also left with a large bag of blue astral coins. It was estimated to be tens of thousands of blue astral coins. One must know that one blue astral coin could be exchanged for 1,000 blue crystal coins. In addition to compensation, there was also a portion of confidentiality. Once Zi Chen exposed this matter, it would have a huge impact on the Fang family. The Fang family was currently not prepared to go to war with other forces. Fang Wulian sent Zi Chen to the back door. This time, Zi Chen played an important role in his rise. It seems that my gambling luck is really not bad. The first gamble of my life and I became the biggest winner. Fang Wulian said with a smile. You are indeed the biggest winner this time. Zi Chen leaned forward and whispered in Fang Wulian's ear, the bamboo sea world has returned to normal. You only need to enter the depths once more. This was what Little Fairy told Zi Chen. Zi Chen then passed it on to Fang Wulian. After all, the entrance to the bamboo sea world was in the Fang family. He could not enter at will. Even if he knew the secret of the bamboo sea world, it would be useless. When Fang Wulian heard this, his eyes lit up and he said sincerely, it seems that I owe you a big favor this time. Zi Chen patted Fang Wulian's shoulder and said, there is no need for this between you and me. Fang Wulian smiled and then cupped his fists towards Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng. Finally, he looked at Xiao and said, after I master the soul refining method, I will forge the first weapon for you. Xiao snorted, who cares? However, the corner of her mouth was already curled up. This time, you risked your life to save me. Fang Wulian really has nothing to repay you with. How about I use my body to repay you? Bah, in your dreams. I am the successor of the Feng family. How could I fall for a lecher like you? After a round of laughter, it was time to part. Fang Wulian cupped his fists and bowed deeply towards Zi Chen. Thank you. Take care. Shan Kuei beside him did the same. You're welcome. Let's meet again. Zi Chen smiled and turned to leave. Fang Wulian stared at the backs of Zi Chen and the others until they disappeared, then he sighed heavily. Shan Kuei asked in confusion, young master has already become the patriarch, why are you sighing? Fang Wulian turned around to look at this enormous family. In fact, this family that looked strong and prosperous on the surface was only a shell. The inside was already riddled with holes. Especially after Zi Chen secretly told him that the Soul Eater clan might exist in the family. Fortunately, he could regain control of the Bamboo Sea world. This was his greatest trump card, and as long as he managed it properly, he could still be revived. After leaving through the back door, Zichen finally had the chance to thank Wen He. The other party waved his hand and said, "You're welcome, it's just on the way." The group went to the Undrunk restaurant to eat something. At the same time, Xiao wanted to ask about what had happened in the family. From the news, everything was fine with the family. Other than that, there was no other explanation. "What do you plan to do next?" Old Tang asked while they were eating. "Send Xiao back first, then head north," said Zichen. Old Tang glanced at Wan He. He put down the Undrunk Immortal restaurant and said, "Let's go first." Zichen was a little puzzled. Old Tang explained, "Wan He will also head north, so it's on the way." "Oh." Zichen nodded. After eating, the group left Forest Room City. Looking at the bamboo forest outside the city, Zichen no longer felt envious. Because as long as he went back and had some time, he could also create a city like this. However, as they walked, Zichen's hand would flash with light. Those were the blue crystal coins, and they would disappear in a flash. If one didn't look carefully, it would look like Zichen was playing with the blue crystal coins. Old Tang and Wan He were both in the Earth Soul realm, so they could naturally see Zichen's abnormality, but they didn't point it out. The rest of the journey was almost free of danger. Just after Zichen and the others left Fanglin City, the Fang clan released shocking news. Those who entered the Bamboo Sea world were completely annihilated because of the chaos in the Bamboo Sea world. For a moment, those families were furious and went to the Fang family to ask for an explanation. After knowing that the two geniuses, Fang Wudao and Fang Wuling, had died in there, they were all shocked. Quite a number of people from the Fang family had entered, but only the trash Fang Wulian had returned. Even the human soul realm cultivators who had been killed by Zichen had been used as scapegoats by the Fang family. They said that the Fang family had secretly arranged for them to enter the Bamboo Sea world, but they had not returned. Fang Wudao was the future successor of the Fang family, and he was known as the #1 human soul realm expert. Even if the Fang family had a conspiracy, they would never send him to his death. Fang Wuling was also very famous. From this, it could be seen that there was an uncontrollable change in the Bamboo Sea world. Although that was the case, it was impossible for those forces to give up just like that. As a result, many forces began to target the Fang family both openly and secretly. At the same time, there were various conflicts within the Fang family. The colossus that was the Fang family was now like a tree full of worms that could collapse at any time. On the way to the Feng family, Zichen fed the spirit robes while taking care of the little fairy. Therefore, he spent money like water. Zichen, who originally had no concept of blue crystal coins, gradually felt that he was struggling to make ends meet. Even though he had made a lot of money from gambling in the Sagely Mountain City, and all the drinks along the way were provided for free by Shijio's Undrunk Tavern, the two beside him were bottomless pits that couldn't be filled at all, let alone with blue crystal coins. They traveled like this for 3 days. They still traveled during the day and cultivated at night. On a morning 3 days later, He looked at Zichen and said, "Your cultivation seems to have made no progress." Zichen said with a smile, "The progress is already very fast. After all, I just advanced to the human soul realm not long ago." He also smiled, but in the next moment, a ray of light suddenly appeared and landed on the 4 of them like a bolt of lightning. Bang! 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 The light exploded on the 4 of them one after another. The 4 of them flew backward and coughed out blood one after another. He, you are an Earth Soul realm expert. How dare you sneak attack us? Don't you have any shame? Shijio shouted at He as soon as she landed. As for Zichen, after being slightly stunned, he closed his eyes and stopped talking. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ye did the same. Old Tang grinned and watched the show. He was not angry. He said directly, "Girl, you finally showed your true nature. Didn't you call me senior earlier? Do you look like a senior? To think that I admire you so much. I didn't expect you to do something like this." Shijio's expression suddenly changed. Then, She closed her eyes and stopped talking. Not bad. A smile appeared on his lips, but he did not say the next sentence. But there is still a gap between you and a true genius. However, he did not regret it. After all, there was only one Lan Jiu Meng in this world. As for Zi Chen and Shan Ya, he could not see through them, but they were obviously not weaker than the heavenly girl. After about the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Zi Chen opened his eyes. He asked, "Can you still walk?" "Yes." Zi Chen nodded. "That's good. From today onwards, 1 strike a day." Although they could move forward without hindrance, their speed had decreased a lot. It was not as smooth as before. His blade intent flowed in their bodies, tempering their bodies and strength. This seemed to be a good thing, but the pain they had to endure was unimaginable. Zi Chen and Shan Ya were people who had lived a hard life, so they could bear it. Lan Jiu Meng was a little more strained, but she could still grit her teeth and endure. However, Shijiao was different. Even if she endured the least amount of blade intent, she still cried because of the pain as she moved forward. She looked very pitiful. Her original admiration for he had long disappeared. This situation only improved when the sky darkened. Then, everyone stopped to rest. A day's journey, constantly resisting the blade intent, consumed a lot of energy and needed to recover. One night was enough. The next day, the sky brightened. Zi Chen opened his eyes. After a night of cultivation, he had improved a lot. They continued on their way. He slashed again. He did not use his soul weapon. He only used his finger as a blade, but the moment he attacked, he suppressed the 4 people's spirit robes, causing them to lose their effect. Just this move alone made he much stronger than the other Earth Soul Realm cultivators. Along the way, Shijiao cried again, but she never said that she would give up. As they continued forward, his strength increased again and again. This meant that he had grown. Chapter 39-34. The Sai family also controlled a city of their own. Because the Sai family made their fortune here, the drunken immortal here was also the cheapest among the several cities. This city controlled by the Sai family was no less prosperous than Fanglin City. Although the price of real estate in the city was not as high as Fanglin City, there were many caravans coming and going, so it was even more lively. This place was the same as before. There were no changes. Ever since Xiao entered the city, she had become very active. "Sister, after I see Grandpa, I'll take you guys for a good stroll in the city." Coming here was like returning home. Xiao naturally had to perform well and act like a host. "What about us?" Old Tang asked at an inappropriate time. Zi Chen glanced at him, seriously suspecting that this old man was doing it on purpose. Sure enough, when Xiao heard this, her expression immediately changed. She glared fiercely at he. "Do whatever you want. I won't entertain you." After thinking about it, she seemed to feel that this was not good enough for guests, so she said, "All your expenses will be on me. But don't think about taking revenge. Let me tell you, this city belongs to our family. Be careful, you won't be able to leave the city." He, who was deliberately targeted, only smiled. Naturally, he wouldn't lower himself to this little girl's level. Speaking of which, the scene of the little girl crying all the way but still persevering made him very impressed. After all, she was a pampered young lady from a big family. It was already very good for her to have such perseverance. The group took a carriage and went to the Sai family. This was a huge mansion with a deep background. It occupied almost a third of the city. The carriage stopped in front of the mansion. Xiao immediately jumped off the carriage and signaled Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya to come out quickly. Zi Chen and the others sat in the carriage behind. After paying the fare, the 2 carriages left one after another. "Greetings, miss." When the guard at the door saw Xiao, he immediately bowed. "You're welcome. Let's go in," Xiao said with a smile. At this moment, an old man walked out of the mansion and shouted excitedly, "So it's Xiao. You're finally back. Second Grandpa." Xiao was very happy to see the old man. She introduced, "Second Grandpa, they are my friends. They specially sent us back." The old man looked at Zichen's group and smiled. Many thanks, many thanks. Sorry for troubling everyone along the way. You're too kind, Zichen replied politely. Since Shijio has returned safely, then forgive me for not sending you off, the old man continued, still smiling. The smile on Shijio-er's face froze. Second grandpa, what do you mean? They're my friends, and I've already invited them to visit my family. The old man patted Shijio's head and said, Shijio, the outside world is too chaotic. Who knows if there are people with ulterior motives who will deliberately approach you. After all, you're the daughter of the Sai clan and the future successor of the Sai clan. You can't be acquainted with those shady people. Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Ya's expressions changed. Zichen's expression was still indifferent. Old Tang and Wen he acted as if they hadn't heard the other party's words and were looking around. Second grandpa, what do you mean? They're all my friends. Grandpa also knows that his Zichen, the one who saved my life. Shijio anxiously said, Second grandpa, how can you say that about them? Zichen? The old man's eyes flashed slightly. Obviously, he knew about Zichen. Zichen nodded slightly. The old man said, so it's Zichen. Your fame has been like thunder to the ears recently. Please don't take offense. This old man doesn't have any other intentions. I'm just worried that Shijio will be in danger. How about this, you can stay in the Sai clan for the time being. All the expenses will be covered by the Sai clan. After a few days, Shijio will come to find you. Second grandpa, they're guests I invited. Shijio was very dissatisfied. That's fine too. Shijio, go back to your family first. Your family must be missing you. We'll go to the Sai clan first and wait for you there. Zichen said with a smile. All right then. Shijio lowered her head, looking very ashamed. They came to the door, but they couldn't let their friends in. Shan Ya walked forward and gently hugged Shijio. It's fine. Go back. We'll wait for you at the Sai clan. Come find us when you're free. Zichen bid farewell to the old man and the group walked into the distance. During this time, the old man kindly reminded Zichen of the location of the Sai clan. When Zichen and the others were no longer in sight, the old man patted Shijio's head and said, All right, child. When you're outside, you must be vigilant. With that, the two of them walked back to the family. At this point, this was the only way. Second grandpa, where's my grandpa? Shijio asked as soon as they entered the family. I'll take you to find Big Brother now. The Fang clan was very big. They walked for more than half an hour. Seeing that the path was different from usual, Shijio asked in confusion, Second grandpa, where are we going? The old man smiled, to the secret room. Big Brother has been researching a new method of brewing wine. He thinks that the Sai clan needs to be improved. The Sai clan needs to be improved. Shijio tilted her head and looked at her second grandpa. I remember grandpa once said that the Sai clan is an immortal brew. It's not a wine recipe from this world. How can it be improved? The old man smiled, you silly child. If it's an immortal brew, how can we make it? Of course it's improved. This time, it's also because we're at a critical moment. We don't want to cause trouble, so we didn't let your friends in. We shouldn't have the heart to harm others, but we must also be vigilant. Furthermore, the Sai clan's foundation is the Sai clan. Once the recipe is leaked, our foundation will be shaken. Hearing her second grandpa's explanation, the sadness in Shijio's heart lessened. Although she didn't believe that Zichen was such a person, it was reasonable for her second grandpa to have concerns. All along, the brewing method of the Sai clan was the clan's core secret. In these years, who knows how many forces secretly or openly plotted against the Sai clan, but none of them succeeded. The Sai clan's bamboo sea world was like the Fang clan's bamboo sea world. Once there was a problem, the foundation of the clan would be shaken. Following her second grandpa to the secret room, Shijio didn't smell the unique fragrance of the Sai clan. Instead, she smelled a thick smell of blood. She was very puzzled and turned to look at her second grandpa. She found that her second grandpa's expression had also become serious. Did something happen inside? Shijio quickened her pace. However, After entering the secret room, Shijio was dumbfounded. She saw her grandfather tied to a cross. His arms and legs were pierced by iron chains. His hair was disheveled and he seemed to have been tortured. He was very weak. "Grandpa!" Shijio shouted. Tears immediately fell as she rushed towards her grandfather. A force appeared behind her. The old man grabbed Shijio's neck with one hand and said, "Don't be in a hurry." The old man in front slowly woke up. After seeing Shijio, his eyes immediately widened. "Big brother, it's another multiple-choice question. Let's see if you choose to take your granddaughter's life or your wine recipe this time." Chapter 39-35. Chen and the others walked in the direction of the undrunk restaurant. During this time, everyone was silent. Obviously, the Sai clan's attitude was a little too distant. They seemed to be even more arrogant than the Fang clan. He glanced at Chen and asked, "What did you find?" Chen pondered for a moment and said, "There are many people hiding in that courtyard, and their realms are not low. Their numbers obviously exceed the number of normal guards." Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ye both glanced at Chen. They did not dare to investigate the interior before, as they felt that it would be impolite. "It seems that your perception is not bad." He smiled. "What else?" Chen continued, "Those people only began to move when we arrived. They should be on guard against us. If we had entered the Sai clan at that time, they would have attacked us." He nodded and asked, "What do you think about this matter?" "Something big must have happened in the Sai clan, which is why they are so nervous. As for whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, we don't know yet." Chen said in a deep voice, "But whether it is good or bad, they are avoiding us and not letting us intervene." Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ye were very surprised. They did not expect that Chen could connect so many things with just a few words. Wasn't it normal that the Sai clan's people did not know much about them, not to mention that they had arranged for the undrunk restaurant to entertain them? He said, "So you thought it might be a bad thing, so you made arrangements in advance." "Arrangements?" Lan Jiumeng was stunned again. Chen, who was walking forward, stopped. He was not surprised that he saw through his little action. He looked back at Shan Ye and asked, "Can you still feel it?" Shan Ye nodded. She had heard Chen's voice transmission earlier. Although she did not understand what it meant, when she took the initiative to hug Shijio, she still followed Chen's instructions and secretly left a trace of mark on Shijio's body. Even old Tang was slightly stunned. He did not notice Shan Ye's little trick. "We have to go back and take a look." As Chen spoke, he looked at he. He said, "What if I don't go? Then I have to go too." Chen said in a deep voice, "Considering the secret letter to Shijio when we entered the Bamboo Sea world, I feel that it is very likely that something has happened to Shijio. In addition to that secret letter, Shijio had also been kidnapped when she was in the Holy Mountain. If he hadn't accidentally saved her, who knew what would have happened to her? Moreover, the person in the secret letter obviously knew about Chen, so he definitely wouldn't have acted so distant. Furthermore, everyone knew that entering the Bamboo Sea world was filled with danger, but Shijio's grandfather still allowed Shijio to take the risk." "You are quite meticulous. Well, whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, I will accompany you and see the situation," he said with a smile. Chen became even more confident. After all, he alone was a powerful existence that could suppress the entire Fang clan. The group began to return. During this time, Lan Jiumeng asked Shan Ye what she had done. Shan Ye told her the truth. In fact, she also did not know what had happened. They once again arrived outside the Fang clan's residence. From the outside, there did not seem to be anything strange. When the guards saw them, they did not respond with vigilance. One person walked out and said, "Everyone, you cannot go in." Chen stepped forward and said with a smile, "I am a friend of your young miss. I suddenly have something to discuss with Shijio. Can you help me pass on the message?" The other person's face showed an awkward expression. Chen continued, "Please, it is a very important matter. I forgot to mention it before and only now did I remember. Otherwise, I would not have rashly disturbed you. We can wait here." After Shijio comes out, we will leave. Okay, wait here. The other party had previously seen the relationship between Shijio and Zichen and the others. It was true that they could not let them in. However, if they did not even pass on a message, it would be a little unreasonable. The other party turned around and entered the residence. The door was closed again. Zichen waited silently outside. His soul power was used to detect the other party's every move. In less than 10 minutes, Zichen's expression changed. Interesting. He smiled faintly. Everyone, please excuse me. Zichen first cupped his fists at the guards. Just as they were surprised, his figure seemed to have teleported and appeared beside these guards. With a bang, these guards fell to the ground and all of them fainted. Zichen did not say anything and rushed toward the door. A beam of light shone on the door, and lines appeared on it. Someone had activated the array on the door. Zichen punched out, and lightning illuminated the surroundings. Boom! The veined patterns on the door dimmed by half. Then, with another punch, the patterns were all destroyed. The Sai family's sturdy door, which had existed for many years, was shattered. Zichen strode in. A ripple flashed, and he seemed to have entered another space. The scene here changed. He had mistakenly entered the array. Or rather, this was the Sai family's method. They were waiting for him to come in. A light lit up in the sky, and then enlarged in Zichen's vision. It was sword light, surging with a powerful and terrifying aura. I let you go earlier, but I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me. A cold and indifferent voice sounded after that. Hearing this, Zichen was relieved. It seemed that his guess was right. Something had happened to the Sai family, and it was bad. A light shield appeared in front of him, blooming with bright light, blocking all the attacks that fell from the sky. Light sputtered and fell around the light shield. A long staff appeared in Zichen's other hand. Shijio was in danger, and he could not waste too much time here. Purple light bloomed, and a purple staff shadow soared into the sky, instantly annihilating everything around it. A middle-aged man appeared in his vision. At this moment, he was stunned, as if he did not expect Zichen to be so powerful that he could break the array in one move. The sound of something breaking through the air came from behind. Lan Jiyu Meng and the others had come in. Following that, a staff shadow appeared in the sky, drawing a purple arc in the air, and all the figures that were charging forward were all sent flying. Shan Ya and the others followed closely behind and joined the battle. He and Old Tang walked at the back. As Earth Souls, the two had not made a move yet. Chapter 39-36. Qi Zhenlin looked at the scene in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. He seemed to see the meaning of victory. Qi Zhenfeng was the current head of the Qi family, which was also Juju's grandfather. He was covered in wounds and had suffered a lot of torture. When he saw Ju he was shocked. Ju, why are you back? His voice was very hoarse and weak. Ju cried and said, "It's over, so we came back." "Grandpa, what's going on?" Qi Zhenfeng sighed, his eyes filled with helplessness. Qi Zhenlin was Juju's second grandfather. He asked with a smile, "My good brother, what are you going to do next?" Qi Zhenfeng said, "Second brother, we'll settle the matter between us ourselves. Let Ju go. She's innocent." Qi Zhenlin laughed. "Innocent? Let me tell you, no one is innocent. I want to see if a stubborn old man like you is willing to let your family be destroyed in order to protect that lousy recipe." Qi Zhenlin grabbed Ju's neck and slowly lifted her up. "Ju, you don't know how your parents died, right? Second brother, how dare you?" Qi Zhenfeng shouted angrily, but just as he finished speaking, his injuries were affected and he began to cough. Qi Zhenlin said, "Impudent. I don't think so. I'm telling the truth. Brother Zhenlin, you're being boring. This is an old matter. What's the point of bringing it up now?" Another voice sounded. There was another victim several feet away from Qi Zhenfeng. He was not much better off than Qi Zhenfeng. He was also very miserable, and his Daoist robe was tattered. "Daoist Chen, don't you know how to calculate? Then I'll have to trouble you to calculate whether or not I'll kill you first." Qi Zhenlin said coldly, Or is my good brother willing to hand over that wine recipe to protect you? Daoist Chen shrunk his neck and shook his head. Zhenlin, we're friends after all. This has nothing to do with me. Moreover, my power is sealed, so I can't calculate anything. Continue. Don't worry about me. Qi Zhenlin stared at Daoist Chen and said, You're so relaxed. Did you calculate that you won't die? Or do you have other expectations? For example, that Zi Chen? And the earth soul beside him? Brother Zhenlin, you're flattering me. How am I fearless? I'm clearly scared out of my wits. Daoist Chen immediately explained with a smile. Kai Zhenlin snorted coldly and said, Humph, good that you know. To tell you the truth, I have already sent them away. After dealing with you, I will go and kill them. The 100 soldiers are very precious. There is no need to leave them with them. If you're really confident, then forget it if you don't believe me. Let's see if you can make a comeback this time or if you'll be killed by me. Daoist Chen immediately said, No, it can't be counted. Brother Zhenlin, this matter has nothing to do with me. You can continue, I'll just listen. Yun Zhenlin coldly snorted again and continued, Shijiao, listen carefully. The reason your parents died was because the same thing happened many years ago. Someone else used your parents' lives to exchange for the drunken immortal's wine recipe. Shijiao had no impression of her parents. However, from what her grandfather said, her parents died in an accident. It happened when they went out to train. This was also the reason why her grandfather rarely let her go out. The situation back then was the same as today. That old man watched his son and daughter-in-law die in front of him without doing anything. I remember that at that time, it was you, Daoist Chen, who helped him out, right? Yun Zhenlin glanced at Daoist Chen. Daoist Chen's face turned pale as he hurriedly said, That's a coincidence. It's really a coincidence. Yun Zhenlin looked at his eldest brother. I'd like to see what choice you will make in the same situation today. Will you give up on your granddaughter again and continue to protect your wine recipe? Yun Zhenfeng glanced at Shijiao and did not say anything. Shijiao's eyes were filled with tears. This was the first time she had heard the details of her parents' deaths. She did not expect it to be like this. Second brother, give up. Yun Zhenfeng suddenly sighed and said, Don't be stubborn. Stubborn without regret. I think this sentence is more suitable for you. Yun Zhenlin sneered and said, Why? Do you still intend to make the same choice? As he spoke, he squeezed Shijiao's neck with all his might and exerted force bit by bit. If that's the case, then I don't mind that you have no family at all. Shijiao's face turned pale and her bones began to creak. However, her eyes were fixed on her grandfather. She did not say a word and did not even cry out in pain. Zhenlin, don't be agitated. Let's talk things out. When Daoist Chen saw this scene, he immediately said, Yun Zhenfeng, what are you still thinking about at a time like this? Is that lousy recipe more important than Shijiao's life? Hurry up and agree. Yun Zhenlin's smile became even more ferocious. Let go of Shijiao. I have to consider this matter carefully, Yun Zhenfeng suddenly said. Do you think that's possible? If you don't let go of Shijiao, then you'll never be able to obtain the wine recipe. Yun Zhenlin snorted coldly and let go of Shijiao. Shijiao fell to the ground but did not have any reaction. She seemed to have lost her soul. Yun Zhenlin said, All right, I'll give you 10 minutes to consider. 10 minutes won't do. I need 2 hours. Yun Zhenfeng said. Don't even think about bargaining with me. 15 minutes at most. If you still don't intend to hand over the wine recipe after 15 minutes, then don't blame me for being impolite. A hint of cruelty flashed through Yun Zhenlin's eyes. Shijiao is still very young and so beautiful. I will have many ways to torture her. When the time comes, it will be impossible for her to commit suicide even if she wants to. Yun Zhenfeng's body trembled. At this moment, his eyes turned extremely cold. Second brother, I originally thought that you were just blinded by power. I didn't expect you to be so vicious. You watched Shijiao grow up. So what? Yun Zhenlin smiled. She's not my biological granddaughter. I'm very happy to see her being tortured in front of me. I believe that you, who are unwilling to hand over the wine recipe, would be very happy to see it, right? Yun Zhenfeng said indifferently, second brother, you're hopeless. Cut the crap. You only have 15 minutes. Just at this moment, a person suddenly ran into the secret passage. He said in a panic, Father, this is bad. That Zi Chen is killing his way in. Zi Chen? Didn't I send him away? Yun Zhenlin was slightly startled. But I don't know what happened to him, but he came back. Killing intent flashed through Yun Zhenlin's eyes. Since that's the case, then use the formation to kill him. We haven't even gone to find him, but he actually took the initiative to send himself to death. But father, the formation has already been broken. Zi Chen is about to kill his way in. Zhu Buyao's face was filled with anxiety. What? Yun Zhenlin's expression also changed. How is that possible? He can break the formation? However, just as he finished speaking, the entire secret room suddenly trembled as if there was an earthquake. A golden saber light descended from above, directly splitting this underground secret room in two. Chapter 39-37. Several figures appeared from the crack, and the one walking in front was Zi Chen. He looked down from above, and the two of them looked at each other. How is this possible? His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. There were several Earth Soul Realm cultivators outside, so how could they come in? Such a huge commotion had awakened Xiao from her daze. After seeing Zi Chen and the others, her eyes lit up a little. At this moment, Yang Zhenlin could only see Zi Chen, Shan Ya, Lan Jiumeng, and Old Tang. As for Wen He, who had attacked earlier, he turned around and looked at the people around him. His expression was very relaxed, and the golden saber in his right hand was leaning on the ground. The people from the Yang clan all stayed 300 meters away, not daring to take a step forward. The Earth Soul Realm cultivators who had appeared earlier had all become corpses, and the two halves of their corpses had fallen to the ground. Under such circumstances, who would dare to come forward to die? Fortunately, the other party did not continue to attack, or they would have scattered like birds and beasts. Zi Chen flew down from the crack, and the smell of blood inside made him raise his eyebrows slightly. He looked at Xiao, who had an abnormal expression, and asked, Are you okay? Xiao shook her head. Zi Chen looked forward again and saw the two old men, but they were too miserable. We're not late, right? Yang Zhenfeng laughed and said, not late at all. In fact, you far exceeded my expectations. I originally thought that I would have to suffer a few more months of torture before you could return. Yang Zhenlin said in disbelief, You guys colluded with each other? If we colluded with each other, do you think we would be willing to let Xiao suffer? This time, it was Daoist Chen who spoke. He, who was still lacking in energy, seemed to have recovered a lot. We're not like you, so cold and heartless. A ray of light flew out from the darkness and swept past Daoist Chen's body. The restriction chains shattered, and then the light flew past Yang Zhenfeng, unlocking the restriction on his body. It was a flying sword, and it finally returned to Daoist Chen's side and disappeared. Looking at the two who had escaped in an instant, Yun Zhenlin's eyes widened. Beside him, Zhu Buyao took a few steps back in fear. You want to ask us why we continue to suffer here when we can escape, right? The one who spoke was Cai Zhenfeng, and he answered his own question, because I want to catch all of you in one fell swoop. Only then can I eliminate all future troubles. I will never allow the same thing to happen again. Yun Zhenlin's eyes were filled with despair. Clearly, he had not expected such a thing to happen. He glared at Daoist Chen. It's you again, isn't it? Daoist Chen said, I only predicted that the Sai family would face this calamity. As for the source of the calamity, I really don't know. Damn you. Qi Zhenlin charged towards Daoist Chen. Daoist Chen's body glowed with light. He was actually an Earth Soul Realm cultivator. Cai Zhenlin's forward figure suddenly turned and directly attacked Shijiao, who was beside him. This change was completely unexpected. At this moment, Yun Zhenlin's eyes were filled with madness. Clearly, he didn't want to die here. He wanted to take Shijiao as a hostage. This way, he might have a chance at survival. Second brother, you're courting death. Sai Zhenfeng roared angrily, but it was too late to save him. At this moment, a black staff appeared in front of Yun Zhenlin. The others couldn't react in time, but Zichen could. The black staff suddenly released rays of purple light, and a powerful aura emerged. With a loud boom, Zichen's body slid back, and the hand holding the staff trembled. After all, he was only at the human soul realm. It was still a little difficult for him to block an attack from an Earth Soul Realm cultivator. Yun Zhenlin took 2 steps back. With these 2 steps, his fate had changed from life to death. Daoist Chen and Sai Zhenfeng stepped forward at the same time to stop Yun Zhenlin. Zichen put away the staff and glanced at Zhu Buyao, who was about to sneak away. Zhu Buyao's expression changed, and his eyes were filled with fear as he stood there, not daring to move. The situation was hopeless. "You'll die a horrible death for ruining my plans." Yun Zhenlin glared at Zichen with resentment, as if he was looking at an irreconcilable enemy. This time, his perfect plan had been ruined by Zichen just like that. Even his slim chance of survival had been destroyed by Zichen. "Zhenlin, it's already come to this. It's better to speak less." Daoist Chen sealed Yun Zhenlin's strength and then gestured for him to go forward. Yun Zhenfeng walked in front. When he reached the entrance of the cave, he saw Wen He, who was holding a saber and intimidating everyone. His expression changed slightly. "It's actually you." Wan He nodded and smiled. "Does this count as you owing me another favor?" "You little brat, you still dare to ask me for a favor?" Yun Zhenfeng scolded jokingly. "Aren't you in seclusion in the holy mountain? Why are you willing to come out?" Wan He gently lifted the golden saber and put it down again. Yun Zhenfeng, who understood what he meant, sighed. "You're really amazing." At this time, Zichen and the others had already walked out one after another. Yun Zhenfeng no longer chatted with Wan He. A jade pendant appeared in his hand. The next moment, he threw the jade pendant into the air. Countless ripples extended in all directions, forming a strange vibration that spread into the distance. When Yun Zhenlin saw this scene, his heart was already dead. This was using the authority of the patriarch to start summoning all the higher-ups of the Yun clan. As the vibration passed, the identity tokens carried by the higher-ups of the Yun clan also vibrated. This was the patriarch's summon, so everyone had to return. At the same time, figures flew out from all directions of the Yun clan. Among the people around, many of them had blank looks on their faces, not knowing what was going on. "Greetings, Patriarch." It was unknown who shouted, but many people knelt on one knee. Then, the others around them followed suit one after another. During this time, they even put away their weapons. Everyone knelt down. It was a sea of black, showing their absolute loyalty. Yun Zhenfeng waved his hand, and the token returned. After putting away the token, he turned to look at Xiao. "Xiao, follow everyone to the Undrunk restaurant first. When this matter is over, bring your friends over as guests." Xiao nodded, but she was still in low spirits. Yun Zhenfeng gently patted Xiao's head and said earnestly, "Silly child, don't let your imagination run wild. You'll be fine." Xiao nodded again. Next, the Yun clan would definitely welcome a large-scale purge. It was indeed not appropriate for everyone to stay here. Thus, after Zichen bid farewell to the old man, the group left. Along the way, everyone moved aside one after another, and the tense atmosphere that they had when they entered earlier had long since vanished. Chapter 39-38. On the way back, Xiao was clearly not in high spirits. She seemed to be in a daze. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Yue comforted Xiao one after the other. They believed that no one would be in a good mood after such a big thing had happened to the Sai clan. Zichen walked at the back. He was still adjusting his breath. He had already put away his golden saber. He glanced at old Tang beside him and said, "Who do you think is scheming against whom this time?" Old Tang shook his head. "I don't know." He smiled. "Guess." Old Tang glanced at He. "You weren't like this before." "Well, I've been on the mountain for too long. Naturally, I'll look for some fun after leaving the mountain," He said with interest. Guess quickly." "Is there a need to guess?" Many years ago, the Sai clan suffered a great loss. Do you think they'll be willing to accept it? Old Tang said indifferently, this time, it should be a trap within a trap. They think they're better at scheming than others, but not everyone in the Sai clan is stupid. Perhaps they've been waiting for this day for a long time. This time, there's a snake coming out of its hole. Also, who is that Daoist Chen? The Sai clan has provided good food and drinks for so many years, but he still caused the Sai clan to fall. How can he swallow this? Perhaps he's been thinking about how to take revenge all these years. Otherwise, how can his hair be so white? This time, he's really ruthless. Not only did he put the Sai clan in danger, he also lured the demons out of their hole. He even schemed against us. Perhaps, before Zi Chen entered the Bamboo Sea world, he had already predicted this day. He laughed. Just a trip out and I've already encountered this kind of thing. How lively. Then, he shook his head and said regretfully, it's a pity that this has nothing to do with me. Say, there are so many troublemakers in the world. Why hasn't anyone come to find trouble with me? Old Tang was speechless. This was the first time he had encountered someone who thought he had no trouble. However, when he thought of the other party's personality, Old Tang felt relieved. Those people back then were simply courting death. The two of them didn't try to suppress their conversation, so the people in front of them could hear them clearly. Compared to Zi Chen's earlier prediction of danger, Old Tang's prediction was more realistic. Shijiao Er's mood gradually improved. It seemed that her grandfather still remembered her parents. This time, it could be considered as revenge. When he arrived at the Undrunk restaurant, the people here were exceptionally polite. He wondered if they had received the news in advance. The other party arranged individual rooms for everyone, but Lan Jiyu Meng refused. She and Shan Ye gave up their own rooms and stayed with Shijiao. Shijiao was in a bad mood and needed extra care. Zi Chen and the other two stayed in their own rooms. They didn't need to comfort each other, and they didn't want to be disturbed. After returning to his room, Zi Chen continued to adjust his breathing. Because he had been too worried about Xiao's safety during the battle, he had used up a lot of energy. This was also because he had dealt with those Earth Soul Realm experts along the way. Although they were both in the Earth Soul Realm, he was ridiculously powerful. And the reason why he could rush to the Fang clan to save him was probably because of the token. He was like Ou Li and Old Tang, his protector. And the one they were truly loyal to was Lan Jiyu Meng. After all, the one who left the token was the Lan clan's patriarch. After recovering, Zi Chen took out a jade pendant. This was the Holy Talisman art he had obtained on the second level of the Holy Talisman Mountain. Summoning Battle Spirit. Even though he had the mysterious Holy Talisman brush, he still hadn't comprehended it for a long time. At the same time, he hadn't comprehended the ultimate power of combat arts. Zi Chen was comprehending the spell in his room. In Shijiao Er's room, she told her two sisters what had happened. It was the first time the two girls knew about Shijiao's background, so they were silent for a moment. Shijiao Er was crying sadly. Lan Jiyu Meng gently patted Shijiao's shoulder to comfort her. After a moment, the silent Shan Ye suddenly said, actually, you don't have to be sad. You should be happy. Shijiao looked at Shan Ye, very puzzled. Lan Jiyu Meng was the same. How could she comfort someone like that? Shan Ye said, your parents were harmed. Your grandfather must have felt terrible for many years. This time, he let you enter the Bamboo Sea world because he didn't want you to be in danger. He was willing to be tortured so that he could find all the bad guys hiding in the family. Why was he doing this? Of course, it's to prevent the same thing from happening in the future. It's also to let you smoothly take over the clan in the future. Look, after you came back, all the problems were solved, right? Looking at the problem from this angle, it seemed to be true. Shijiao Er was only a little frightened and didn't suffer any losses. However, the clan was rid of all future troubles. Shan Ye said, actually, the ones who really suffered were your grandfather and that Daoist. Especially your grandfather. The pain he suffered should be beyond your imagination. Shijiao nodded. After Shan Ye's counseling, she could already understand her grandfather. However, The Sai clan was still in turmoil, so she couldn't go back immediately. Looking at Shijio, who was obviously in a better mood, Lan Jiumeng suggested, "Why don't we go shopping?" "Sure." Shijio didn't have any objections. Shan Ya naturally didn't have any objections. This way, she could still calm down. The three women left the undrunk restaurant and walked on the bustling streets. This city was very lively. The incident in the Sai clan hadn't spread, and only a small number of people knew about it. At this time, the Sai clan's door was closed. The guards who were supposed to appear at the door had all returned to the clan. A thick smell of blood occasionally came from the Sai clan, accompanied by an extremely cold aura. Those who passed by the Sai clan's walls all avoided it. After so many years, the Sai clan once again welcomed a purge. This time, there were even more heads rolling. Among them, there was no lack of the heads of some core members. This time, the current head of the Sai clan, Sai Zhenfeng, showed no mercy. Those who deserved to be killed, from the old to the young, were all killed. Even if they could be killed or not, more than half of them were killed, causing the Sai clan members to tremble in fear. During this period, there was naturally some unrest and resistance. However, Sai Zhenfeng, who was already fully prepared, stifled all resistance. As the mastermind of this incident, Shijio's second grandfather's bloodline was completely wiped out. Not a single one was left alive. At the same time, there was also a purge of varying degrees in many of the Sai clan's properties. This time, Sai Zhenfeng deliberately took the risk to make Sai Zhenlin careless. He wanted those who thought that the situation was over and were hiding in the dark to reveal themselves. Then, he would catch them all in one fell swoop. After a full 7 days, the purge finally ended. The Sai clan lost a third of its members. Many of the properties outside also suffered a huge impact. The purge this time was very successful, but the price paid was not small. The loss of assets was enormous. After Sai Zhenfeng finished reading the secret letters sent from different places, a ball of flame appeared in his hand, and all the secret letters turned into nothingness. "Pass down the order. No matter the price, we must silence those who escaped." Sai Zhenfeng's eyes were extremely cold. The dignity of the Sai clan cannot be violated. When dealing with traitors, we can only fight to the death. "Yes." Someone responded in the dark, and then a black shadow disappeared. After dealing with a few more matters, Sai Zhenfeng left the room. Just then, Daoist Chen walked over from afar. When he saw Sai Zhenfeng, he was somewhat surprised. "Are you going out?" "Everything has stabilized. I'm going to take a look at the undrunk restaurant. I wonder how Shijio is doing." Sai Zhenfeng asked, "Are you going?" Chapter 39-39. 7 days later, the undrunk inn welcomed an important figure. This caused a great commotion in the undrunk inn. Everyone was in danger. After all, the news of the bloodbath a few days ago had already spread. Even in the undrunk inn, there were victims of the bloodbath. The tragic scene was still vivid in everyone's mind. Now, the head of the family had come personally. Was he going to do it himself? However, they soon realized that the head of the family was only here to find someone. In a private room that only the head of the family could open, the current head of the Sai family cupped his fists towards Zi Chen and the others. He said apologetically, "I've troubled you all this time. If I've offended you, I hope you won't take offense." Beside him, Daoist Chen also followed suit. He waved his hand and said, "Don't give me that. If you really felt guilty, you wouldn't have used this fool back then." Zi Chen was slightly startled. Was this fool talking about him? Sai Zhenlin laughed. There was no trace of apology on his face. It's rare to see someone like that. Today's wine is enough. During the banquet, Shijio sat beside Sai Zhenlin while Daoist Chen sat on the other side. It could be seen that the two seniors doted on Shijio. How was the trip to the Bamboo Sea World? Sai Zhenlin took the lead and asked. As expected, he didn't have any intention of apologizing. Zi Chen simply recounted what happened in the Bamboo Sea, but he was quickly interrupted by Shijio. "You're wrong. Let me repeat it." Sure enough, when it came to Shijio, her description was much more vivid. She also described some of the details of the battle in detail. Of course, She didn't mention the scene where she blocked the sword for Fang Wulian. This was probably the main reason why Shizhou interrupted Zi Chen. She was worried that he wouldn't know how to speak and say something he shouldn't. Zi Chen smiled faintly and didn't expose him. After knowing what happened in the Fang family, Cai Zhenlin and Daoist Chen laughed again. Cai Zhenlin said emotionally, "I've heard about Fang Wulian's matter, but I'm not sure. I've always seen him as a legend. I didn't expect him to have such an encounter and be able to endure for so many years. His temperament is really good. Now that he's in charge of the Fang clan, it's not that bad." Zi Chen nodded. The most commendable thing about Fang Wulian was that, after enduring and suppressing for so many years, he didn't lose his rationality and change his temperament when he erupted. Then Yun Zhenlin changed the topic. "However, the Fang clan is unlucky to have met you, Wn He. It's fine if Golden Blade Wn He doesn't appear, but if he does, it's a chaotic world." Wan He smiled and said, "Are you praising me or scolding me?" Ma Zhenlin glared at him and said, "You brat, you're still so stubborn." "Of course I'm praising you." Judging from the tone of their conversation, it was obvious that they were once very familiar with each other. Shizhou asked curiously, "Grandpa, was that knife user very famous in the past?" Li Zhenlin did not find it strange at all that Shizhou had used this tone to address Wn He. This was because Shizhou had also talked about the hardships on the road, which made the old man's heart ache so much that he almost cried. He almost pointed at Wn He's nose and scolded, "How can my precious daughter suffer such torment?" However, speaking of Golden Blade Wn He, he was naturally very famous. Not only did he become famous at a young age, he was also second to none. In that era, he was a truly amazing person. Zi Chen was not clear about Wan He's origin. He had asked Old Tang in private, but the other party did not tell him. At this time, Zi Chen was also very curious when Shizhou asked about Wan He's origin. Seeing that Li Zhenlin seemed to really want to explain, Wan He immediately waved his hand and said, "Forget it, it's all in the past." "Why bring it up again?" Li Zhenlin said discontentedly, "So what if it's in the past? Tell them so that they can broaden their horizons and have a goal. Don't think that you're invincible all the time." After 3 rounds of wine, Li Zhenlin opened his mouth and talked about Golden Blade Wan He's many achievements. This was how the name Golden Blade came about. It had to be said that Wan He, who became famous at a young age, was really invincible in the world. Suffering from no enemies, he finally chose to go into seclusion in an attempt to break through to a higher realm. Naturally, things did not end there. The turning point happened more than 100 years ago. At this point, Li Zhenlin deliberately glanced at Zi Chen, which surprised Zi Chen a little. At that time, something big happened on the sacred mountain. All the forces were paying attention. Li Zhenlin's tone suddenly became serious. In the eyes of outsiders, it was just a competition. However, in the eyes of many forces, it was a big gamble. Zi Chen's expression changed slightly. According to the time, he seemed to be able to guess what had happened. It was a battle of fighting techniques. You all know the result. Ou Li was defeated by Sacred Rao, and the Sacred Mountain Gambling House changed hands. However, this is only one of the things that most forces know. There are still some inside stories that no one knows. Li Zhenlin glanced at Wan He and found that his expression was still calm, as if he had already let go of what had happened in the past. Just as the force behind Sacred Rao was about to take over the Sacred Mountain Gambling House, Wan He heard the news and came out of seclusion. Li Zhenlin shook his head and sighed. It was a bloodbath. Wan He killed from beginning to end. Countless heads rolled. Even a few Earth souls died. If not for someone from the Sacred Mountain stopping him, Sacred Rao himself would have been killed. This is why the Sacred Mountain Gambling House did not fall into Sacred Rao's hands in the end. The impact of that battle was great and caused quite a stir. Unfortunately, only a few people knew about it. After that battle, Golden Blade Wan He entered seclusion on the Sacred Mountain again. When Ou Li was defeated, he was still able to leave the Sacred Mountain City alive. In addition to Old Tang's help, there was also Wan He's contribution. He had killed so many experts that he could not pursue Ou Li with all his strength. Hearing Li Zhenlin's words, everyone was shocked. Although they did not see the battle with their own eyes, they could still imagine his imposing figure in that battle. But what puzzled Zichen was, why did he help Ou Li? One had to know that the sacred mountain had always maintained a neutral position in that matter. After all, it was a fair bet. As if guessing Zichen's doubts, Li Zhenlin explained with a smile, as for why he helped, the reason is very simple. His surname is Ou, and his full name is Ou Wanhe. However, he became famous too early and became famous for his golden blade. After that, he went into seclusion for a long time, so many people forgot about this matter. Zichen suddenly opened his eyes wide and looked at he in shock. His surname was Ou, so he was from the Ou family. Was he from the same family as Ou Li? Ou Li is my younger brother. Although he is a good-for-nothing, I have to say that even if he lost the gambling house in that battle, he was not wrong. Ou Wanhe looked at Zichen and said with a smile, "You are the martial arts successor he chose. Now that you are in danger, I naturally have to go down the mountain. He is the young master of the Ou family. He chose you, so you are also the young master of our Ou family." Zichen recalled that when he was in the Li family, he had said something similar and called him young master. Chapter 3940. Ou Li used a saber, and so did he. The only difference was that he didn't learn any fighting techniques. As an aristocratic family, it was undoubtedly a joke that their direct disciple didn't know any fighting techniques. Therefore, even if he was a young genius, there were still all kinds of doubts. As a result, Ou Wanhe became Golden Saber he. It seemed that he deliberately wanted to avoid the Ou clan. Many years later, many people forgot that the declining Ou clan still had Ou Wanhe. Otherwise, the forces that controlled Sacred Radiance wouldn't have dared to target the Ou clan. Although the Ou clan suffered great losses at that time and even lost the Sacred Mountain Casino, the forces behind Sacred Radiance suffered even greater losses and were almost exterminated. This was also the reason why the old ancestor of the Fang clan didn't dare to have the slightest thought of resistance after hearing his name. If they didn't deal with it well, the Fang clan might be destroyed. Several people were surprised by his identity. However, with the relationship between them and Ou Li, when they looked at he again, their eyes were obviously more affectionate, as if they were seeing a family member. Yuan Zhenlin invited Zichen and others to visit the family. Zichen nodded, indicating that he would definitely visit. After eating, the three girls went shopping again. With Xiao as the host, there were endless shops in the city and endless delicacies to eat. Walking out of a shop, Shan Ya was holding an accessory in her hand. She bought it earlier and was very happy. Her gaze swept through the crowd. It was not strange that there were unfamiliar faces. Suddenly, Shan Ya blinked as if she saw a familiar face. But in the next moment, that face disappeared. Was it an illusion? Shan Ya was slightly startled. "What's wrong?" Lan Jiumeng looked at Shan Ya. "I seem to have seen a person." Shan Ya said. "Who?" "Ghost King." "Ghost King?" Lan Jiumeng had seen the Ghost King once. At that time, he wanted to be the Oriole, but he didn't succeed. Didn't the other party escape from Luo Wei City? How dare he come here? Didn't he know Zichen's current prestige? If they dared to appear, it would be a matter of a stick. Lan Jiumeng scanned the surroundings with her sole remembrance, but didn't find anything. "Are you hallucinating because you drank?" Lan Jiumeng asked. "It's possible." Shan Ya nodded. Because her vision was blurred just now, she couldn't be sure. She had indeed drunk some Bu Zuixian when she accompanied Cai Zhenlin. This was just an interlude, and it didn't affect the rest of the three's journey. They strolled until the sky turned dark, and then the three of them went back. Zichen was sitting in a room. On the table in front of him was a whole row of blue crystal coins. At this moment, these blue crystal coins were disappearing piece by piece. The speed at which they disappeared was almost the same. Zichen was a little worried because he had two foodies by his side who only ate blue crystal coins. The daily consumption was a huge figure. The foodie you brought can eat too much, and it's useless. Why don't we just throw it away? Little Fairy flew out. When no one was around, it would come out to take a breather. Of course, it didn't forget to belittle the spirit robe. It had already instigated Zi-Chen to give up more than once. Zi-Chen pretended not to hear it and put another row of blue crystal coins on top. The little sprite immediately flew up, but before it could enjoy the feast, it saw that half of the blue crystal coins had disappeared. It was so angry that it screamed. "This matter is over. It's time to leave." Zi-Chen gently knocked on the empty table, and Little Fairy disappeared in a flash. After staying for another 2 days, Sai Zhenlin sent out an invitation for Zi-Chen and the others to visit the Sai family. This time, as the patriarch, Sai Zhenlin personally went out to welcome them. It had to be said that the standard was very high. Shijiao was very satisfied with this. The wine used during the banquet was all top-notch Bu Zuixian, which couldn't be bought outside. When they were about to leave, Zi-Chen and Sai Zhenlin had a conversation about Shijiao blocking the sword for Fang Wulian last time. When he first heard about this, the old man was extremely moved, but his emotions quickly returned to normal. "I didn't protect her well that time. I hope Senior won't take offense," Zi-Chen said apologetically. Of course, he wasn't here to take the initiative to apologize. Sai Zhenlin also understood what Zi-Chen meant. He nodded and said, "If I have time, I will pay more attention to Shijiao." "That's good." Zi-Chen smiled slightly. "Are you planning to leave?" "I'll leave tomorrow." "So soon? We've been delayed for too long. We have to speed up the process." "All right. Be careful. Have you told Shijiao?" I asked Shan Ya to pass on the message. The group left the Sai family. Shijiao's eyes were red and full of reluctance. Because they were going to leave, it would be extremely difficult to see them again. After returning to the Undrunk Pavilion, Old Tang called everyone together and told them that he was also leaving. "You're leaving?" Zi-Chen asked in surprise. "You're not coming with us?" Old Tang shook his head and said, "No. I'm just a bag of old bones. I can't last much longer. From now on, he will protect you all the way to the north." The two incidents of the Fang family and the Sai family made Old Tang feel powerless. As Zi-Chen grew, the enemies he encountered became stronger and stronger. This was something that Old Tang had long expected. Just like how Ou Li had escorted him on his last journey and killed Sacred Ray, Old Tang could only send Zi-Chen up to this point. "The rest of the journey will depend on you all. I believe that in the future, you will definitely be famous in the north." In one day, he had to say goodbye to 2 people. This made Zi-Chen sad. The next morning, Old Tang left. He had already said yesterday that he didn't need anyone to send him off. Zi-Chen stood at the entrance of the Undrunk Pavilion and watched Old Tang leave. He didn't have any intention of saying goodbye. Old Tang's figure was a little stooped. Just as he was about to disappear around the corner, he gently raised his hand to say goodbye. He really left. He didn't even look back. At another corner, Xiao appeared. She was here to send them off. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya had already packed up everything. He stood beside Zi-Chen and said, "Actually, you should go up and say hello because we might not meet again tomorrow." "Maybe we really won't meet again." Zi-Chen didn't respond. Instead, he walked forward. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya had already walked out. They saw Xiao and went forward to hug her. Zi-Chen stood in the distance and watched. "Not going to hug her? You won't have a chance in the future," he teased. Zi-Chen glanced at he and went forward to greet Xiao. Unexpectedly, she took the initiative to hug Zi-Chen. "Take care." Zi-Chen smiled and accepted it calmly. "You guys too. I will miss you. If you pass by here, remember to come and see me." Tears welled up in Xiao's eyes. "Definitely." Zi-Chen gently patted Xiao's head. "Cultivate well. I hope that the next time we meet, you will already be an Earth Soul expert." They parted with laughter. Along the way, there were people coming and going. It wasn't that sad, but there was still sadness. Chapter 3941. Along the way, there were 4 of them again. He replaced old Tang, and their journey was no longer as easy. Every morning when they woke up, what greeted them was not prepared food, but the light of knife intent. The three of them shared the attack, and the speed of their journey slowed down significantly. He drove the empty carriage alone, following behind them at a leisurely pace. When the sky darkened, the three of them stopped to rest. Sometimes they would eat some food, but most of the time they would cultivate directly. Even though they suffered hardships, the progress of the three of them was very fast. After a few days, Zichen noticed that Shan Yue was a little worried, and her mood was obviously not good. "What's wrong?" Zichen, who was enduring the knife intent, walked to Shan Yue. "I think I saw someone in the city last time," Shan Yue said after a moment of hesitation. "Who?" Zichen was a little confused. Someone who could make Shan Yue emotional. Could it be an acquaintance? And an acquaintance of Shan Yue's was naturally a friend. It was the Ghost King. Shan Yue said, "At that time, my eyes blurred, and I thought I saw him, but it quickly disappeared." Lan Jiyu Meng turned around and said, "I think it was a blur." Shan Yue nodded and said, "I think so too, but if it was a blur, why was it the Ghost King and not someone else?" Zichen was lost in thought. He had only seen the Ghost King once, but he had a deep impression of him. If Ou Li had not appeared in time, they would have been dead. Shan Yue had a deep impression of the Ghost King. When she and Noah came to this world, they were hunted down by the Ghost King's people for 100 years. At that time, Zichen guessed that the Ghost King should be related to the young man, but the young man did not appear, which made Zichen more suspicious. The young man could suppress his realm, but Zichen, who came to this world, could not suppress the realm of others. It was clear that even if the young man was from this world, he was different from everyone else. Shan Yue's concern was correct. Whether it was an illusion or a real Ghost King, they could not afford to be careless. Lan Jiyu Meng could not understand why Shan Yue was so worried about a Ghost King at the human soul stage. Even Zichen was frowning at this moment. "It could really be an illusion," Shan Yue said. "Don't worry, we just have to be careful." He, who was driving the carriage, did not care about this matter. No matter what kind of enemy it was, as long as he had a saber in his hand, he was not afraid of anything. In fact, he was even secretly hoping that the danger would be even more intense. After all, once he reached that place, endless dangers would await him. In the pitch-black night, Zichen sat cross-legged as soul power from the world continuously converged towards him. His physical body was absorbing soul power to grow, and the soul power in his body was also increasing. With his help, his progress was great. Shan Yue and Lan Jiyu Meng were the same. He was sleeping, and his snores were deafening. As the sky brightened, everyone got up and continued on their way. Of course, when he woke up, he did not forget to give the three of them a stab as an appetizer. The current Zichen could already fight against an Earth Soul stage, but this Earth Soul stage definitely did not include He. Even if the three of them worked together, they might not be able to block a full-powered attack from the other party, let alone him. At noon, they arrived at a lake. There was a small boat on the lake, and an old man in a straw raincoat was fishing in the middle of the lake. He came to the lake and wiped his face. Then, he squatted there and looked at the old man in the middle of the lake. Zichen's expression was somewhat guarded. It was not normal for an old man to be fishing in this wilderness. Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Yue stood on either side of Zichen and naturally felt that something was wrong. The old man was motionless, like a pine tree in the forest. The small boat under him also seemed to be still. Zichen had the intention to retreat. He was still squatting there, looking at the scene with interest. After about 15 minutes, the fish still did not take the bait. He had lost his patience. He got up, and a large rock appeared in his hand. Without waiting for Zichen's reminder, he threw it far away. With a splash, the large rock fell into the lake, splashing water everywhere. It was like a downpour, hitting the old man's straw raincoat and falling into the small boat. At this moment, the fishing line sank slightly, as if a bait had taken the bait. The old man skillfully drew an arc with the bamboo fishing rod, and a small golden fish landed on the small boat. The old man's laughter rang out. Zichen's expression changed slightly. Only now did he realize that the fishing line was not a real fishing line, but a silk line manifested from energy. Similarly, the hook was also manifested from energy. This combination of hardness and softness was ingenious. Even Zichen, who was in the human soul stage, could not do this. I've been fishing for this golden-scaled fish for 3 months. I didn't expect to succeed today. The old man stood up and turned his head to look at Zichen and the others. If you don't mind, can you return to the villa to rest for a while? Let this old man do his best as a host, and consider it my thanks to you all. Zichen did not expect He to help the old man by a stroke of luck. However, they were in a hurry, and the old man's strength was extraordinary. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Unexpectedly, at this moment, He took the initiative to say, "Okay, we're also tired. Let's go to the old man's place and ask for a drink." Zichen hesitated, but He did not look back. The old man's small boat moved forward. When it reached the lake, the boat shone and doubled in size. He jumped on and then looked back at Zichen. Zichen was a little helpless, but he could only follow. The boat went in the other direction of the lake, and no one needed to paddle. Shan Ye's gaze was a little strange. Because they were all in the human soul stage, they could fly. Why did they need to paddle? The golden-scaled fish from before was currently swimming in the wooden barrel. Occasionally, when it surfaced from the water, a golden light would suddenly appear. It was very bright. It's said that this lake is connected to the bottom of the sea. Occasionally, golden-scaled fish will come here to rest, but it's hard to find. The old man looked at the golden-scaled fish and said with a smile, "This fish comes from the deep sea. It's said that it lives in a place close to the core of the earth. It's born with the ability to use the rules, and is extremely extraordinary. For cultivators in the world, it's an amazing opportunity to break through. It can allow a human soul stage cultivator to easily break through to the earth soul stage." Hearing the old man's explanation, Zichen's eyes had a hint of surprise, and he looked at the golden-scaled fish again. The scales on its body seemed to be made of gold, and on its back, there was a dazzling golden line that seemed to flow with the light of the rules. This thing can help people break through to the next realm? And it was very easy. At this moment, the 3 human soul stage cultivators were all moved. At this moment, the boat paddled to the end of the lake. A ripple appeared in front of everyone's eyes, and the boat entered the ripple. The few of them disappeared on the lake. Chapter 39:42. The boat did not reach the shore. It was still moving forward, and the lake water under their feet rippled. There was actually a different world here. The mountains were high and the waters were beautiful. The lake water was blue, and from time to time, fish could be seen swimming on the surface of the water. Zichen's expression was strange. What a unique scene. The golden-scaled fish began to jump in the wooden bucket, appearing very active. However, it could only jump out of the water each time, but could not leave the wooden bucket, as if there was a restrictive spell restraining it. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ye were also amazed. Such a beautiful scene was really rare. The old man laughed and said, "This is my place of water. I built a manor here." There was a white mist in front of them. As the old man waved his sleeve, the white mist rolled and dispersed, and a manor appeared on the mountain peak. The boat reached the shore. The old man picked up the wooden bucket and smiled, motioning for everyone to go ashore. The path up the mountain was a winding stone staircase carved out of white jade. There were some unknown creatures carved on it, which should belong to the creatures of the sea. Walking on the stone staircase, Zichen felt that his footsteps were a little heavy. Some creatures would appear in front of him from time to time, and they were the creatures carved on the white jade. It turned out to be a heart-tempering staircase. Although the quality was not as good as the Wenshin path that appeared in the Sage Heavenly Mirror, it was still a great opportunity for most people. Seeing that they walked so easily, the old man was a little surprised. "I didn't expect the young hero's minds to be so extraordinary." At this time, the golden-scaled fish was still jumping. It was unknown whether it was happy or wanted to escape. Zichen's gaze was once again attracted by the golden-scaled fish. Did this little fish really have the ability to help a human soul break through to the Earth Soul realm? But it seemed that there was nothing special about it except that it was beautiful. As if it had noticed Zichen's gaze, the jumping golden-scaled fish suddenly turned its head and glanced at Zichen. That glance was like a vicious stare, but also like some kind of warning. Intelligent beings? Zichen's eyes flashed with surprise. Just as he was about to reach the peak, a golden-scaled fish suddenly appeared in front of Zichen. It came from the stone carvings beneath his feet. The golden-scaled fish's body was covered in golden light, as if the laws of the great Tao were circulating around it. At this moment, Zichen felt that he was closer to the Earth Soul realm than he had ever been before. It was as if he only needed to take a step forward to cross this threshold. A smile appeared at the corners of his mouth, but he did not take a step forward to take the opportunity. Having walked the Wenshan Road before, he naturally wouldn't feel anything when he looked at these stone steps again. It was all an illusion. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Wei did the same, easily reaching the top. There was a trace of surprise in the old man's eyes. Although there weren't many people in his villa, it wasn't easy for a human soul to reach the peak. After arriving at the top of the mountain, the straw cape on the old man's body turned into a beam of light and disappeared. The aura that Zichen couldn't detect before was released, giving Zichen quite a bit of pressure. It turned out that the straw raincoat was also an extraordinary item. When they arrived outside the villa, a beautiful maid took the initiative to open the door and respectfully greeted their master. "We have guests. Let them serve them well," the old man said with a smile. However, he no longer wore the straw raincoat. Instead, there was an indescribably powerful aura around him. "Yes." The beautiful woman lowered her head and said, "Please follow me." She closed the door of the villa. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the golden-scaled fish that they had caught earlier seemed to have broken through the seal and leaped out in an instant. The golden-scaled fish landed on the ground and transformed into a 7 to 8-year-old little girl. She was wearing a long golden dress, and her cold and tender face had a natural air of nobility. "Feng user, do you admit to your crime?" The little girl looked at the old man and said angrily. There was a hint of dignity in her tender voice. The old man was slightly taken aback. However, he quickly reacted, and a light flashed in his eyes. Zichen and the others were shocked. It was very unusual for a golden-scaled fish to transform into a human. "You are." Feng user looked at the little girl in front of him in confusion. "Golden-scaled princess." The little girl said coldly, "Feng user, do you admit to your crime?" Hearing this, Feng user's eyes lit up. The royal golden-scaled fish is the royal golden-scaled fish. They are good at illusions and illusions. It seems that the heavens are treating me well. My luck is really good to the extreme. My idiot can finally be saved. The old man instantly made a move. Soul power surged out from his palm and fell on the little girl's body. The little girl felt pain and her body began to struggle. Then, she transformed back into her original form and fell into the bucket. The golden-scaled fish struggled in the bucket, but this time, it had already broken free. The maid from before stood at the side. She was expressionless, but her body was trembling as if she had been greatly frightened. This scene happened so quickly that Zichen and the others had no time to react. When they reacted, they saw that Feng user was already in tears. He seemed to be crying and laughing at the same time. His expression was indescribably wonderful. He looked around and seemed to be very curious about the things here. On the contrary, he was curious about the old man. Shan Wei and Lan Jiumeng were at a loss. Obviously, they didn't know whether to persuade him or not. "The heavens are treating me, Feng user, well. After so many years of waiting, the royal golden-scaled fish is finally here." The old man who was crying and laughing wiped the tears from his face with his sleeve. "I've made a fool of myself. I'm really too excited. Everyone, follow me. Let's drink some tea first. I'll slowly tell you all about it." The old man carried the golden-scaled fish and walked towards the depths of the manor. Zichen and the others followed. However, in their hearts, they were all suspicious. Was the little girl from before real or illusions? Coming to the hall, The maid from before began to boil water and make tea. The old man took the bucket and left. He should be placing the golden-scaled fish first. After a while, the maid began to pour tea. The old man also came back quickly. He waved his hand and the maid retreated. You must be very confused. What is going on? The old man seemed to be in high spirits. He said excitedly, I built the Shui Xiu villa here. In addition to self-cultivation, it's actually more for the golden-scaled fish. To be precise, it's for the royal golden-scaled fish that can transform. You've already seen it before. When I put down my bamboo hat and lost my mind, the other party broke out and wanted to affect my mind. Senior, you mean that the previous scene was just an illusion? Zichen asked. Whether it was an illusion or not, you should already know when you came up. The old man said, in order to catch the royal golden-scaled fish, I spent too much effort. Over the years, I've caught a few golden-scaled fish, but the royal golden-scaled fish never appeared once. Until today, I've finally waited for it. Even though the old man suppressed his emotions, his body was still trembling. It was obvious that he was excited. Then, the old man said, to be honest, I caught the golden-scaled fish not to break through the realm, nor did I catch the royal golden-scaled fish for the realm. I wanted to save people, save the life of my idiot. Chapter 39:43. Speaking of his own child, the old man became even more agitated. With snot and tears, he recounted everything that had happened that year. 100 years ago, Feng Yu's child, Feng Xiaoze, had just turned 16. He had made some achievements in cultivation and was considered a well-known young genius. During one of his travels, Feng Xiaoze came to a lake and met a beautiful woman. The shy young man was shocked by the woman's appearance. He stood there motionless as if he had been petrified. The woman noticed the young man and his embarrassment. She smiled and asked, "What's your name?" Her voice was very sweet. The young man felt his entire body turn soft. He couldn't speak clearly and stuttered. The woman giggled and said that he was an idiot. "I'm not an idiot. I'm a young genius." Thus, the young man met the woman and had feelings for her. The woman also accompanied the young man. This should have been a good story and Feng Yuze should have given his blessings. But who knew that the woman would suddenly disappear? It was as if she had evaporated from the world. Feng Xiaoze searched hard but to no avail. He returned home in a daze as if he had lost half his life. He couldn't eat or drink. After Feng Yuze asked about what had happened, he found out that something had happened. He came to the lake where he had fished and found the existence of the golden scale fish. Feng Yuze shook his head and said with regret, "I was careless. I shouldn't have let him run out alone. Because that was a curse from Huang Jinlin." Huang Jinlin's curse? Everyone's expression changed. Actually, Feng Xiaoze didn't see a person at all. He only saw what happened in his mind. It was just an illusion, or an illusion. His consciousness has been in an illusion for many years. So after he fell into it, he couldn't wake up. All these years, if I hadn't poured my life into his body, my idiot would have died long ago. Zichen and the others were shocked when they heard this. A fish actually had such a method. What you saw earlier was actually just an illusion. You might not believe it, but this is Huang Jinlin's unique technique. It makes it extremely difficult for others to distinguish between reality and illusion. If you are careless and fall for it, you will suffer a fate worse than death. That's the curse of the imperial golden scale. It's said that every single imperial golden scale that's born will curse a human. The only way to remove the curse is to capture an imperial golden scale, refine its soul power, and inject it into the victim's body. Only then can the victim recover. Feng Yuze immediately stood up and cupped his fists at them, saying, "I, Feng Yuze, will never forget this great favor. If you have any instructions in the future, feel free to let me know. As long as I, Feng Yuze, can do it, I will do my best." He sat there, drinking tea without saying anything. Zichen hurriedly stood up and said, "Senior, there's no need to be so polite. We just happened to bump into each other. This is a great kindness, and I will remember it. When that idiot wakes up, I will definitely ask him to personally thank you." Immediately, Feng Yuze shook his head and said, That's not right. What kind of nonsense is this? Even with the imperial golden scale, it will still take some time for the idiot to wake up. How can I let my benefactors waste time waiting? Quickly get someone to bring me a golden-scaled fish. The beautiful maidservant who had been waiting outside the door retreated. In just a moment, she walked in with a fish tank in her hands. In the fish tank, there was a golden-scaled fish swimming. The luster around its body was not as good as the previous one, and it was even less agile. However, it was a genuine golden-scaled fish. Over the past 100 years, I have been using my own life to prolong the idiot's life. As a result, I have become older and older. However, the idiot has fallen deeper into the illusory array, so I have spent most of my time fishing for golden-scaled fish. Although it's far inferior to the imperial golden scale, it can still sustain the idiot's life for a period of time after refining it. Foam User said, now that we have the imperial golden scale, it is only a matter of time before the idiot wakes up. This golden-scaled fish is of no use, so I might as well give it to my benefactor. Although it is not as good as the previous imperial golden scale, it can definitely help a human soul break through to the Earth Soul realm. As Foam User waved his hand, the maidservant brought the fish tank over. Zichen hurriedly waved his hand and said, "You can't accept this." "Actually, we didn't do anything," Foam User said seriously. "Perhaps your actions were unintentional, but to me, Foam User, it is a great kindness. If you had not come here, perhaps the final result would have been that I would have exhausted my life and died here with the idiot. Therefore, I hope that you can accept it. If you are not in a hurry, when the idiot wakes up, I will catch another 2 golden-scaled fish as a final token of my gratitude." Looking at the still hesitant Zichen, Foam User said, "Could it be that benefactor is unwilling to accept it because you want my imperial golden scale?" "Not at all, not at all." "Well, I will accept it." It was difficult to refuse such kindness, so Zichen could only accept the golden-scaled fish. He was reluctant to accept it because it was too precious. Seeing Zichen accept the golden-scaled fish, Foam User smiled again. In the evening, he held a welcoming dinner for the 4 of them and took out the best wine in the villa to entertain them. During the banquet, he would sometimes shed tears of sadness as he recounted the hardships he had gone through all these years. The hardships he had gone through made the eyes of Shan Ya and Lan Guming turn red. Zichen was also deeply moved. Fortunately, in the end, Foam User smiled again. It was like the clouds parting and the moon shining brightly. He finally saw hope and ushered in the dawn. Zichen put the golden-scaled fish in his room. They did not immediately go to rest. Instead, they came to Zichen's room to carefully examine the golden-scaled fish. It was indeed different from what they had seen before. It did not have the agility, but the aura of the rules was very obvious. The 3 of them were very interested in it. He sat at the side. He had no interest in the golden-scaled fish. He was already in the Earth Soul realm. This item was useless to him. This golden-scaled fish really has such an effect. Zichen turned to look at He. He glanced at Zichen and said, "Don't underestimate it." Zichen's eyes widened. "Really? What else? That old man is so old. Did he joke with you all day?" Zichen sucked in a breath of cold air. If it was true, then this was a great opportunity. No matter who refined it, there would be an Earth Soul realm expert in the team. "I don't need it." Without waiting for Zichen to speak, Lan Meng was the first to speak. "My realm is still unstable. I don't need it now." "Me too." Shan Ya followed. "I don't need it either." He sat there. His expression did not change. In fact, this was already within his expectations. Chapter 39-44. Since neither of them wanted it, the golden-scaled fish would naturally be Zichen's. If he refined it now, Zichen would quickly advance to the Earth Soul realm. However, he hesitated. Seeing Zichen's hesitation, Lan Meng said, "I'm not being courteous. I really don't need it." With that, Lan Meng left, followed by Shan Ya. He stood up and said, "You can see it as an opportunity. It's up to you to choose." He also left. Only Zichen was left in the room. He looked at the golden-scaled fish in the fish tank and fell into deep thought. As if thinking of something, Zichen waved his hand and scratched the fish tank. There were no restrictions on it. The golden-scaled fish inside was still swimming like an ordinary fish. Zichen had killed countless people, even more so when it came to killing beasts. When he was in the Carter world, he even led the people of Carter world to fish and catch beasts. He never thought of himself as benevolent. However, looking at the golden-scaled fish today, looking at the fish that should be his food, he didn't know why he couldn't bear it. In his mind, he couldn't get rid of the thought of that little girl. Looks like this golden-scaled fish is really amazing. I only saw it use its illusion once, and my heart actually wavered. Zichen shook his head and smiled. Then, he sat down cross-legged to cultivate. Actually, it was more about cultivating his heart. The next step after the human soul realm was the earth soul realm. For Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng, entering the earth soul realm wasn't difficult because they came from this world and were recognized by it. However, Zichen was different. When he entered the human soul realm, he relied on luck. Entering the earth soul realm was even more distant. This had nothing to do with one's potential. It was related to the rules of the world. The earth soul realm of this world was the earth soul realm. It had no special meaning. However, to the descenders of this world, the earth soul realm had extraordinary meaning. It represented an 8-star saint spirit and an 8-star saint talisman master. According to Zichen's knowledge, there was no such saint talisman master in the saint spirit domain. Once he broke through, it would be very easy for Zichen to become an 8-star sacred symbol master when he returned. Right now, this opportunity was right in front of him, right in front of his eyes, just inches away. Was he going to miss it just because of that illusion? Even if there was a grudge in his heart, the one who had conjured the little girl was the Emperor Golden Scale. It had nothing to do with the golden scale fish in front of him. Moreover, had he not eaten enough fish along the way? They were roasted, boiled, and even eaten in different ways. There were all kinds of seasonings on top, and it was extremely delicious. I've eaten so many fish, so what if I eat one more today? Not to mention, after eating it, one would be able to advance to the Earth Soul stage, and the path ahead would be practically smooth. Even if becoming the final heavenly soul was still a long way away, he would still be able to save a lot of time. A great opportunity was right in front of him, but why was he hesitating? Zichen couldn't calm down and opened his eyes again. The golden-scaled fish was still swimming, but it was not lively. I don't owe you, little thing. Zichen looked at the golden-scaled fish and said, I don't owe you at all, you are my food. You are my opportunity to break through. The relationship between you and me can only be that you will be eaten by me. Zichen stretched out his finger and knocked on the fish tank. Even if I feel guilty, I only owe that Emperor Golden Scale that knows illusion. I just can't save it. Besides, who knows if that little girl is real or fake? It's just that I can't see through it. Zichen knocked on the fish tank with his finger, and the golden-scaled fish inside swam a little faster. Zichen said fiercely, I will eat you tomorrow, I will definitely eat you. After I ask I will eat you. At most, I won't eat fish in the future, but I will definitely eat you. Eat you. Eat you. I will definitely eat you. Zichen's mood could not calm down for a long time. In the end, he simply stopped looking at it and closed his eyes to cultivate. However, the process was too difficult. The appearance of the little girl would always appear in his mind. Although Zichen repeatedly warned himself that it was just an illusion, and that it was fake, he still felt uneasy in his heart. This uneasiness and self-blame made Zichen feel guilty towards that Emperor Golden Scale. Therefore, he could not harden his heart and directly refine this golden-scaled fish. There is definitely no problem in this. If there was a problem, he would have reminded me long ago. Zichen calmed his heart, I think too much. It seems that I have to think about how to refine and break through next. Gradually, Zichen seemed to have fallen asleep, and his mind was blank. The golden-scaled fish was still swimming, and there was a faint golden light shining from the water, reflecting on Zichen's face. The next day, the sky was bright, and Zichen opened his eyes. Last night, he was sitting cross-legged, and actually slept. Now, he was refreshed, and his restless heart from yesterday had calmed down. You little thing, I'll eat you. Zi-Chen smiled slightly, and reached out to knock on the surface of the fish tank, and the golden-scaled fish's swimming speed increased again. There was a knock on the door, and Lan Jiyu-Meng and Shan Yue walked in. Unlike usual, the first thing they saw was not Zi-Chen, but the fish tank. After seeing the golden-scaled fish in the fish tank, the two seemed to secretly heave a sigh of relief. Zi-Chen took in the subtle expressions of the two, and said, "The two of you didn't come so early to see if I had broken through, right? Of course it's to see you. If there is one more Earth soul in the team, we will be very happy," Lan Jiyu-Meng said. Shan Yue lowered her head. She was not good at lying, especially in front of Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen said, "How long have we known each other? Don't you have too little confidence in me? It's true that I need opportunities, but I also know what to take and what not to take." Shan Yue laughed. This was the Zi-Chen she knew. When it comes to such things, I don't feel conflicted at all. Zi-Chen said boldly, "Actually, I've been planning to release them for a long time." Lan Jiyu-Meng tilted her head and looked at Zi-Chen, as if saying, "Why don't I believe you?" Of course, Zi-Chen would not say that he had been conflicted for most of the night, and finally made up his mind after waking up from a sleep. He swore that he was not a greedy person. A gentleman loved opportunities and took them in a proper way. A smile appeared on his face as he stood outside the door. "We've disturbed them for a day. It's time for us to go." Zi-Chen held up the fish tank with both hands, wanting to put it away, but found that he did not succeed. He was a little surprised, but did not think much of it. When he walked out of the room, he saw he walking out of the room beside him. "Why didn't you refine it?" he asked, puzzled. "We'll talk about it after we leave." Zi-Chen said, "The carriage is still outside. Are we leaving now?" "Yes." Shan Yue and Lan Jiyu-Meng were also prepared to leave. "All right then." He did not have any objections. Chapter 39:45. What is the meaning of this? Foam User looked at the few people who walked out of the room with a puzzled look on his face. Zi-Chen said apologetically, "Thank you for your hospitality, but we have other things to do, so we have to leave." Foam User immediately stepped forward and said with concern, "You haven't refined the golden-scaled fish, and you haven't broken through. Isn't it too early?" Zi-Chen said, "It's not early. As for the golden-scaled fish, after we leave this place, we will refine it." Foam User said, "No, that won't do. You are my benefactors, and didn't we have an agreement? After my idiot wakes up, I will help you catch 2 more golden-scaled fish. No need. We are already very honored that Senior gave us a golden-scaled fish." Zi-Chen said with a smile, "We appreciate Senior's kindness. If we have the chance to pass by here next time, we will definitely pay you a visit." Seeing that Zi-Chen had already made up his mind, Foam User sighed and said, "If that's the case, then I won't force you. However, since you want to leave, then you should at least refine this golden-scaled fish and break through before leaving. This is my wish, and I am grateful from the bottom of my heart." Zi-Chen shook his head again and said, "I really don't dare to disturb you anymore. After we leave, we will refine it." He looked at Foam User, and a sneer suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. "So, you insist on leaving, and you can't stay for a moment?" Foam User's tone changed a little. Zi-Chen's smile was still on his face. "We have to leave." Foam User stretched out 2 fingers and said, "In that case, I won't force you. We will settle the karma here and never meet again. You have 2 choices. One is to refine the golden-scaled fish immediately, and the other is to kill it now." Zi-Chen was slightly startled. What kind of karma was this? "Otherwise, you can stay here and wait for my son to wake up." Foam User said indifferently, "In fact, I don't want to have too much karma with you. If you want to leave now, this is the only way." Feeling the other party's unfriendly tone, Zi-Chen looked at He and said, "What do you say?" He didn't answer and asked, "What do you think?" Zi-Chen said, "I don't know much about karma, and I have never heard of this way of settling things. And after coming here, everything is strange. He doesn't care if we really helped him. He only cares if we have refined this golden-scaled fish. Maybe there is something wrong with it. But I don't know what the specific reason. Originally I didn't intend to refine it, and now, as for killing it, it is also impossible. He snapped his fingers and said, "You're smart, so you're not stupid. Since you've seen everything clearly, then the test is over. You can start now." "What do you mean?" Foam User asked, puzzled. Foam User's expression changed. "I invited you into the villa, and you want to kill me?" His hand flashed, and a golden saber appeared. "Stop acting. I know a little about the curse of the golden-scaled fish. It is actually very simple to break the curse. That is to transfer the hatred. For example, find another golden-scaled fish and let a second person refine it." Zichen's expression changed. He looked at the golden-scaled fish in the fish tank. "Is this a golden-scaled fish? You know this secret?" Foam User was very surprised. He said, "You don't have much time. If you don't call some allies to help, I'm afraid you won't have a chance." Foam User's expression changed again. "Those sea monsters don't scream because they have no fighting power." Foam User's expression gradually turned cold. "It seems that you know everything. I know far more than you think." His voice also became cold. "So, when you took the initiative to open the door and invite us in, your life has already started counting down. Is that so? Then I'd like to see what means you have that you dare to threaten to destroy my Shueisho villa." Foam User waved his hand and said, "You guys go first." From all directions of the villa, figures flew out one after another. They were all women, and each of them was extremely beautiful. Their auras were not strong, and their eyes were dim as they flew over. There was a light of power circulating, and it was a completely different aura. These weak existences were not a match for Zichen, let alone He. Zichen could fight countless of them. Moreover, they were almost emotionless, which made Zichen suspect that they were all puppets. He smiled coldly, and the golden saber in his hand had already slashed out. A circular saber arc, emitting a dazzling golden light, scattered in all directions and flew towards the approaching women. Zichen wanted to warn them, but it was already too late. The saber light landed on their bodies and instantly exploded. The imagined scene of them being split into two did not happen. The saber light turned into saber intent and entered their bodies, causing the women to fall to the ground one after another. They were not dead, but they had temporarily lost their ability to fight due to the torture of the saber intent. Previously, he had used his finger to trigger the saber intent every day for the three to train themselves. This time, he was using the power of the golden saber to train the women. "Anything else?" He asked. "These are not enough. If you don't have anything else up your sleeves, I don't mind killing you with a single slash." "Humph." Foam User harumphed coldly and said, "There's no need to hide anymore. If we don't kill them, we'll be in big trouble." As his voice fell, balls of black light suddenly appeared around the manor, turning into black-robed people one after another. Sensing the auras of the black-robed figures, Zichen's expression changed as he blurted out, "The soul-devouring tribe. Kid, you've got a good eye. There's no way I'll let you live." Foam User waved his hand and said, "Kill the two men. I still have other uses for the women." The soul-devouring tribe charged forward. He shook his head and said, "You guys are too weak. I came all the way here, and you're using 3 Earth souls to send me off. Even if they're different from the rest of the soul-devouring tribe, they're still looking down on me, right?" With that, the golden saber light tore through the sky like a bolt of lightning, and an Earth Soul Realm cultivator was sent flying. A strange look appeared on his face. According to his original intention, the opponent's body would have been split into two. Interesting. He smiled faintly. A deep saber mark appeared on the body of the Earth Soul Realm cultivator who was sent flying, but it was not fatal. The energy from the surroundings was constantly gathering towards his body. Chapter 3946. The Earth Soul Devourer clan member was healing his wounds while the other two continued to charge towards He. As for Foam User, he retreated. He did not attack and chose to watch from afar. In such a situation, there's no need to hold back. He looked around and said, "Kill as many as you can." Zichen nodded. He carefully put down the fish tank in his hand that seemed to contain the imperial gold scale. His figure then rushed forward. A light flashed in his palm, and the black rod appeared. Since there was no need to hold back, he might as well kill to his heart's content. He swept the long rod in his hand and a black rod shadow expanded. Several members of the Soul Devourer clan were sent flying. The black light that flowed around their bodies dissipated and their true appearances were revealed. After landing, they were fine and began to absorb the power of heaven and earth. The black light covered their faces again and they charged forward again. The Soul Devourer clan had the soul-devouring superpower and could absorb the power of heaven and earth to recover. This was their greatest advantage and everyone was a top expert. Zichen's attack did not kill anyone. Zichen was not surprised. When the second attack appeared, the black rod turned purple. As the rod fell, the purple light flashed and the members of the Soul Devourer clan were sent flying again. This time, they coughed up blood and were seriously injured. After Zichen attacked, Lan Jiumeng and Shan Wei also attacked. The two girls did not hold back as the Soul Devourer clan was not easy to deal with. Feng Yuze retreated to the back. A black light appeared beside him and turned into a member of the Soul Devourer clan. The plan failed. Feng Yuze's face was gloomy. He thought that the plan was flawless. Who knew that the other party came prepared? The black-robed man beside him said, "I received news that Fang Di's plan failed. It was done by a few young people. One of them is holding a rod-shaped weapon that can change color. It should be them." Feng Yuze said coldly, "They just ruined Fang Di's plan and now they're here. It seems that they're really courting death." On the battlefield right now, Zichen was displaying his domineering side. As the purple light streaked across the sky, all the members of the spirit gobbling tribe that came forward were sent flying while coughing out blood. It seemed like they had the upper hand, but in reality, the damage done to them was not that great because the Soul Gobbling clan could recover at any time. Although Lan Jiumeng and Shan Wei had encountered the Soul Eater clan more than once, they did not have a quick way to eliminate the enemy. It was the same for Wen He, even though he had already injured all the Earth Soul Realm experts. However, they were like mechanical puppets that could not be killed. They did not know pain, nor did they know fatigue. They charged forward again. Looking at the battlefield, the man in black said indifferently, "If they don't have any other means, they will definitely die." Yes, just by looking at the battlefield, Zichen and the others would die from exhaustion. But was that really the case? Bang! 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 The purple shadow of the staff swept past, and several members of the spirit gobbling clan were sent flying while coughing out blood again. However, unlike before, a black light appeared beside Zichen. It was the phantom ghost that Zichen had put away. It flew out like a black lightning bolt and arrived beside a member of the spirit gobbling clan. It opened its mouth and swallowed it. It could not wait any longer. After Zichen gave the order, it started a massacre. The man in black could not help but change his expression. Feng Yuze cried out, "What kind of monster is this?" He was shocked because the life aura of a member of the spirit gobbling clan had disappeared. This meant that he was dead. "You idiots, do you really think that you are invincible?" At this moment, his voice was heard. The golden saber in his hand began to tremble and let out a buzzing sound. Then, with a flash of golden light, an Earth Soul Realm expert was split into two. He was dead. Shan Wei's weapon emitted a dazzling light and hit a member of the spirit gobbling clan. His body was torn into pieces. Lan Jiumeng's soul weapon swept past the neck of a member of the spirit gobbling clan, and his head was instantly separated from his body. When one's injuries reached a certain point, they would naturally die. Such an unforeseen event shocked Feng Yuze. In the blink of an eye, the situation of the battle changed. 3 Earth Souls were killed by his 3 slashes, but his face also turned pale. As for the other members of the Spirit Gobbling clan, they were being killed by Zichen and the other 2. However, just like He, they seemed to be able to kill the enemy in one move, but in reality, they consumed a lot of energy. The phantom ghost's stomach had become round like a balloon. This time, even it was full. However, The result of the battle was still very impressive because they had almost wiped out a group of members of the Spirit Gobbling clan. The man in black, who had not moved all this time, flew forward. Foam User hesitated for a moment before following. The pale-faced WN he stood with his saber and looked at the two approaching people. The man in black looked down at WN he and said, "You are not weak. Unfortunately, you should not have come here." WAN he said indifferently, "Cut the crap. Use whatever means you have." The man stretched out 3 fingers. "I only need 3 moves to deal with you." WAN his lips curled into a mocking smile. The expressions of Zi Chen and the others changed. Seeing such a powerful WN he, the man still dared to say such words. It was obvious that he was very confident. The man's figure disappeared, and in the next moment, he was beside WN he. WN he, who was holding his saber, flashed as if he was about to attack. A fist whistled over and hit WN his temple. Bang! WN his body flew diagonally for dozens of feet, and then slid for dozens of feet on the ground until he hit the wall of the manor. Zi Chen was shocked and immediately retreated. At the same time, he did not forget to pick up the fish tank. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng also retreated and stood beside Zi Chen. They could not deal with an opponent of this level. When they looked at WN he again, he had already stood up. He shook his head, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The man in black's expression was still cold. His figure disappeared for the second time. A roar sounded from WN his side. WAN he, who had just stood up, smashed his head on the ground like a hammer, creating a deep hole in the ground. "I can't bear to look at this." Foam User sighed, as if he could already see the scene of WN his death. He looked back at Zi Chen. "Don't worry, it will be your turn soon." Zi Chen ignored Foam User and looked nervously at WN he. If he died here, then the 3 of them would not be able to live. WN his body bloomed with light, and the man in black rose into the air. The third move, Soul Devouring. A black energy flew out of his sleeve. Like a black dragon, it swooped down towards WN he. Then, WN he was devoured, leaving only the black dragon hovering in place. Zi Chen's heart sank. Foam User laughed loudly. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ya were worried. The man in black in the sky, who was originally full of confidence, suddenly changed. The confidence on his face had completely vanished. "I thought you could fight, but I didn't expect you to be so weak. Speaking of which, the soul-devouring clan sent trash like you to guard this place. Did they look down on us soul hunters?" Countless golden lights pierced the black dragon like sharp blades. A golden saber light cut through the black dragon and flew toward the man in black in the sky. A tiger's roar was faintly heard between heaven and earth. Chapter 39:47. The smile on Foam User's face froze. Blood rained down from the sky as the black-clothed man's body was split into 2. The soul-devouring black dragon dissipated, and WN he walked out with his saber. He was bleeding from his 7 orifices and looked very miserable, but his aura was still strong. He glanced at the 2 halves of the corpse and said, "You're not good at killing enemies, but you're good at running away." Then, he swung his saber again. A golden light flashed, and a scream came from the half-corpse. It was completely dead. All the soul-devouring clan members hiding here died just like that. Not a single one was left alive. Only then did the expressions of Zi Chen and the other 2 relax. "What are you worried about? Since I dared to come here, I'm naturally fully prepared." WN he glanced at Zi Chen, then looked at Foam User and asked, "How are you going to die now?" "Die? Do you think that's possible?" Foam User said indifferently, "Since I dared to let you in, I naturally have a way to keep you here." Foam User quickly retreated and formed a seal with his hands. Lights lit up around the manor again. These lights soared into the sky and intersected in the air, and an ancient lamp appeared from within. The ancient lamp was black, and the wick emitted a weak light. A powerful aura surged from the ancient lamp, and everyone felt the pressure. "Now, do you still have confidence?" Foam User stared at WN he and sneered. WAN he raised the golden saber in his hand, and countless streams of power poured into the golden saber. The golden saber shone brightly, and a golden light soared into the sky. The saber light flew toward the ancient lamp, and a dozen rays of light suddenly flew out from the originally weak lamp. They were like tentacles, grabbing at the saber light. Bang! 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 The tentacles shattered when they met the saber light. After 8 of them shattered, the other tentacles caught the saber light and turned back. The originally dim ancient lamp seemed to have received nourishment and became much brighter. This is called the soul-devouring lamp. It can absorb all power to strengthen itself. Foam User smiled proudly and said, "This is the soul-devouring clan's greatest reliance. As long as this thing exists, you can forget about leaving alive." He swung the golden saber in his hand again. Several saber lights descended, and the light of the ancient lamp grew brighter. Foam User laughed out loud, his face full of mockery. "Continue." He sheathed his knife and turned to look at Zichen. "You try." Zichen was speechless. Even someone as powerful as he couldn't extinguish the ancient lamp, so how could he break it? "Let's give it a try. It might really work," he said again. Zichen nodded. Perhaps there really was something strange about this ancient lamp. He took a deep breath and poured all of his strength into the long rod. Right now, Zichen was completely focused, so he didn't notice the look of ridicule that flashed through his eyes. Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng saw it, which made the two of them, who were also preparing to make a move, give up on the idea. Wang. He pointed his staff at the sky and the purple staff shadow soared into the sky. Wherever it passed, ripples appeared in the space. This time, only a few rays of light fell from the ancient lamp, while Zichen's staff shadow only broke 3 of them before they were dragged away by the tentacles and turned into nutrients for the ancient lamp. He still had to return without any success, and was even worse than his. The effect is not bad. Unexpectedly, at this moment, he praised Zichen. "Continue. I think this move of yours is very effective." "Are you sure?" Zichen asked. He said in all seriousness, "Of course. Haven't you noticed that the number of tentacles appearing has decreased? Do it a few more times. When it gets used to it, I'll break the lamp in one fell swoop." His expression was very serious, and he didn't seem to be joking. On the surface, his words seemed to make some sense. Thus, Zichen nodded and made a move again. Foam User didn't expose his lie, even though he didn't know what this powerful Earth Soul stage meant. And this seemingly smart young man turned out to be a brainless idiot. He couldn't even tell that he was being played. Zichen used his full strength a few more times, but every time the purple staff shadow soared into the sky, it was swallowed by the ancient lamp. Not only did his attack have no effect, it even made the ancient lamp's light stronger. Zichen was a little helpless. He turned back and glanced at he nodded and said, "Not bad. Continue." Zichen's face was a little angry. "Are you serious?" He smiled. "What else?" Zichen said, "It didn't work at all. It even made the opponent stronger." "Oh, then it seems that it's useless. Rest for a while, then continue." He said very casually. Zichen was so angry that his face turned white. "Do you think I'm an idiot?" He said seriously, "You can't praise yourself like that." Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya at the side couldn't help but laugh. Zichen was furious. He was usually the one who called others idiots. In the sky, Foam User also laughed. "Idiot is indeed praising you. You're actually more of an idiot than an idiot. He's playing with you. Can't you see?" At this critical moment of life and death, he actually dared to make such a joke. This made Zichen wish for nothing more than to give he a good beating. How could he not know the immensity of heaven and earth? Of course, he was just thinking about it. After all, the gap between the two was too big. "I won't play with you idiots anymore." Foam User glanced at the ancient lamp and said, "It has already devoured enough energy. Let's end this farce here." Foam User formed a seal with his hands, and the light of energy disappeared from his fingertips. The ancient lamp in the sky suddenly released an infinite light, as if fire dragons were spewing out from it, falling in all directions. A fiery light shield appeared. Where it was, the space seemed to be burned and turned black. The buildings also disappeared into nothingness. The flame was terrifying. Before it even got close, everyone felt a strong threat of death. At this time, the flame barrier was shrinking. Zichen and the others were also getting smaller and smaller. Quickly think of a way, or we'll die here. Zichen was obviously anxious. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ye also looked at Wan He. The other party deliberately came here. Perhaps he had already anticipated all kinds of dangers, including this strange ancient lamp in front of them. Death is the only way for you to escape. Foam User smiled indifferently. Under the anxious gaze of the three, Wan He spread out his hands and said helplessly, "To be honest, I can't break out of here." Zichen was so angry that he wanted to curse. Unexpectedly, at this time, Wan He changed the topic and said, "But this girl can." He looked at Lan Jiumeng. "Me?" Lan Jiumeng was slightly stunned. The flame barrier shrank obviously faster. "Wan," he said, "time is of the essence, so I won't explain more to you. Follow my hand seals and watch all the movements. There can't be the slightest mistake. Life and death are on the line." Wan he put away the golden blade and prepared to make the seal. Lan Jiumeng copied the fish tank that Zichen gave her and gave Shan Ye the fish tank. She had never seen this seal before and didn't know what it was used for. But at this time, Wan he certainly wouldn't lie to her. She completed all the movements meticulously, but there was no reaction. Lan Jiumeng was stunned. Zichen said angrily, "Wan he, you're playing with us again." Wan he didn't respond. Instead, he looked up at the sky with a serious expression. The holy mountain was surrounded by clouds all year round, so people couldn't see the whole picture. Today, a strange force appeared and blew away all the clouds. A light mirror appeared out of thin air. It was the sage heavenly mirror. At this moment, it appeared in its true form. The next moment, the sage heavenly mirror began to shine. Its dazzling light even overshadowed the sun in the sky. A thick and straight beam of light, carrying a vast aura, shot up into the sky and disappeared into the sky. Everyone in the Holy Mountain City and the Four Holy Mountain looked at this strange phenomenon in shock. Why did the sage heavenly mirror launch such a powerful attack? Above the sky where the Shueisho villa was, a huge light array suddenly appeared. The light array was rotating and bursting with bright light. The next moment, a beam of light appeared and went down. Chapter 39:48. Wan his expression became serious, which made Zichen feel the seriousness of the situation. At the moment of life and death, Wan he would never joke around. However, when he asked Lan Gumeng to imitate his actions earlier, it seemed a little too childish. Where was the rescue? Lan Jiumeng finished forming the seal, but she did not have the slightest hope. Because she did not feel anything unusual when she was forming the seal. Shan Ye hugged the fish tank tightly. The golden-scaled fish in the fish tank seemed to have sensed the danger and began to swim faster. Playing tricks. Today is the day you die. Foam User's proud laughter came from the sky. The flame that could devour life was still shrinking and would swallow everyone at any time. The sky suddenly lit up. A dazzling beam of light seemed to come from the sky and appeared in the sky above the manor. In the face of this dazzling light, Zichen subconsciously closed his eyes. The beam of light fell from the sky and fell on the ancient lamp. Heaven and earth began to roar. Zichen could not stand firm and swayed with the shaking of the ground. Shan Ye closed her eyes and hugged the fish tank tightly. The water was shaking. She was worried that the golden-scaled fish would fall out. Lan Jiumeng stared blankly at the sky and the beam of light. The dazzling light did not seem to have any effect on her. Wan his lips curled into a smile. At the same time, he said, "That was close." Foam User's face showed a touch of astonishment. Hundreds of rays of light flew out from the ancient lamp and intercepted the beam of light. Popping sounds were constantly heard. When the tentacles touched the beam of light, they exploded instantly. It was like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The ancient lamp that could not be broken no matter what, broke with a bang. The flame that was about to swallow everyone also disappeared. Thick smoke billowed. The place had become a ruin. Even the entire mountain peak had sunk dozens of feet. The few people in the field were intact, but they were all shocked. Foam User was still standing in the sky. He was not hurt, but at this moment, he seemed to have been petrified. This ancient lamp was a Dharma instrument from the soul-devouring clan. It could guard this world. How could it be broken so easily? However, the truth was that the attack that came from an unknown place had actually extinguished the ancient lamp in an instant. The manor that he had single-handedly built was thus reduced to ruins. Zichen was also stunned on the spot. He didn't know where this attack came from, but it was like a stroke of genius that helped them resolve the crisis. Looking around, Zichen saw that the manor had disappeared. Even the restrictions here had been destroyed by that ray of light. He saw the lake he had entered from, and even saw a horse leisurely grazing beside the lake while pulling a carriage. The huge commotion here did not affect it at all. Suddenly, Zichen's expression changed. This was because there were many figures in the original lake. They were like humans who had dived into the water and suddenly emerged. There were quite a few of them. Who is that? Zichen's expression changed. Damn it, damn it. Foam User suddenly shouted in anger. His face was rapidly aging, as if his life force was being taken away by someone. He quickly took out a straw raincoat and put it on. There was also a bamboo hat on his head that covered his whole body. Only then did his face stop aging. Zichen heard the sound and turned around. He just happened to see this scene and could not help but reveal a look of surprise on his face. Didn't they say that his life force disappeared in order to maintain the life of his son, Foam Xiaozi? Besides Zichen, in front of Shan Ya, the golden-scaled fish in the fish tank suddenly released a dazzling golden light. The next moment, a ray of light flashed, and the golden-scaled fish leaped out of the fish tank and turned into a little girl of 7 or 8 years old. It was the same girl that Zichen had seen yesterday. The restrictions here had been destroyed by the sage heavenly mirror, and her restrictions had been removed. Foam User, do you know your crime? As soon as the little girl appeared, she stared at Foam User. Her tone was still as arrogant as before. Zichen looked at the little girl. He still could not tell whether this was an illusion or reality. He looked to the side, and Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng did the same. They slowly shook their heads. Inadvertently, Zichen glanced down. He did not know when those strange people had approached here. It seemed that they were going to surround this place. They were just one step away from jumping out of the water. Do I know my crime? What crime have I committed? Foam User snorted coldly. At the same time, he tightened his straw raincoat. His face looked even older. You betrayed my sister's sincerity. After deceiving her, you killed her and used her rules to help you break through. You still don't know your crime? There was a cold light in the little girl's eyes. I am a human, and she is a sea monster. We are irreconcilable. Where did her sincerity come from? It was natural for me to kill her to break through. Who asked her to be so weak? But the Golden Scale royal family is so sinister and cunning. You secretly added a curse to my body, Foam User said resentfully. The Golden Scale royal family should be the guilty ones. If it weren't for your curses, would I be able to hide here like this? Listening to the conversation between the two, Zichen suddenly understood everything. This little girl was real. She was a member of the royal family of the Golden Scale fish. She could transform, just like the demon clan in Zichen's world. She had an older sister who was in love with Foam User. However, Foam User killed her or refined her for his own realm. Then, Foam User was cursed, and his vitality began to fade. His son, Foam Xiaozi, was just a made-up story he made up to deceive Zichen into refining the little girl in front of him. In this way, the curse of the Golden Scale royal family would fall on Zichen. At that time, Foam User would be safe, and Zichen would become the cursed person. The other party's original intention was to find a scapegoat. This was a trap set up by Foam User for everyone. Unfortunately, Zichen did not fall for it. If you only did it for your realm, then you shouldn't have betrayed my sister. Do you know what the greatest secret of the Golden Scale royal family is? The little girl looked at Foam User with hatred in her eyes, but also pity. She answered her own question. It's your mental state. You won my heart, and I'm willing to accompany you in life and death, forming a heart-binding seal with you. When you encounter danger and your life is in danger, my life can be shared with you, saving your life. Similarly, the laws I comprehended can be shared with you through the heart-binding seal, helping you reach the same realm. Impossible. You're lying to me. You want me to feel guilty, right? Do you know how much effort I spent to kill her at the Earth Soul realm? I almost lost half my life. Now, you're telling me that she can help me break through? All my efforts were in vain. Foam User said sternly, I've long seen through your golden scale royal family's treachery. Your purpose in coming here is to kill me, right? Let me tell you, that's impossible. Because this straw cape on me has the blood of the golden scale royal family, those bastards below can't see or hear me. And you, with your puny strength, are worthy of killing me. The little girl's face was filled with sadness. The so-called blood of the golden scale royal family was actually her sister's blood. All these years, Foam User had always relied on the blood left behind by her sister to survive. When she thought of how her sister had entrusted everything, including her life, to such a person, she felt sad and felt bad for her sister. Since I've come to find you personally, I naturally have a way to deal with you. Looking at the crazy Foam User, the little girl put away her sad emotions, and a white pearl appeared in her hand. She cut her finger, and blood dripped onto the pearl. In the next moment, the pearl was dyed in the color of blood. A suction force emerged from the blood-colored pearl, moving forward and landing on Foam User's body. On the surface of Foam User's straw cape, wisps of blood suddenly appeared. These came from the inside of the straw cape, brought out by the suction force. In the next moment, the blood gathered together, forming a person. To be precise, it was a woman.